Are you ready? You won't be needing those here. Welcome to the Enclave.
See you, everyone. My name is Robby Howell. I have been very kindly invited onto the Dice Dragons Guild to show off my game Enclave. It is a diceless game, a diceless tabletop role-playing game. Not sure what that looks like. Well, hopefully today's session will be illustrative. I have 3 fine friends with me today, 2 of whom I know from previous, 1 of whom I'm meeting for the first time. Would you mind all introducing yourselves? Let's start with Kat.
Hey everyone, it's Cheese Cat, also known as Cheese Cat. Today I'll be playing Justine YL.
Lovely. And Mary, if you would.
Yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Mary, and today I'm going to be playing Siri.
Brilliant. And Garnet.
Hey guys, I'm Garnet. Today I'm going to be playing Claudette.
Marvelous. And we're going to get into a little more detail on who all these fine people are in a second. But before that, if you are at all interested in learning more about Enclave or interested in trying out the game for yourself, Izzy and the Dice Dragons Guild have very kindly made sure to broadcast where you can do so, maybe on screen, maybe in the description. I'm not entirely sure, but you all are brilliant and intelligent people, and I'm sure if you're interested, you'll be able to figure it out. We would love to have you. It's a game I've put a lot of my life into, and it's a game that I hope you can find some value in as well. Let us proceed with learning about today's characters. In the same order that you introduce yourselves, could you give us a brief overview of your character, including their class, their personal backstory, a little bit of their aesthetic, and maybe some of the stuff that they specialize in? Fire away, Kat.
Justine YL is a performer. She is from the tech era of the 1940s, but has acclimated very quickly to time traveling. She really likes all the fun gadgets. She is of Arabic descent, so medium brown skin, dark curly black hair, turquoise colored eyes. And she's playing she is a wanderer. She left her kind of life of performing and traveling about, finding trouble to get paid even more for just traveling about and finding trouble.
A brilliant assessment. And Mary, tell us about Siri.
Yes, so Siri is an illusionist. She's sort of based on the wizard from The Wizard of Oz. So long ago, when she was, being her illusionist self, she stumbled her way into becoming the leader of a nation that she had no right to lead. Eventually, they found her out and she got kicked out, and now she's sort of on a redemption arc, trying to become the leader she should have been before. She's very, Wizard of Oz 1940s, I would say, aesthetic. She wears a lot of pink. I don't know if I'm missing anything. Hopefully that's it.
Excellent. And Garnet, tell us a little bit about Claudette.
So Claudette is a gunslinger. She is I kind of modeled her after Regina King in The Harder They Fall, but softer. Like a softer version of that character and much more fashionable. The woman loves corset everything. So all of her clothing items either are a corset or have corset designs. Because she absolutely loves it, and she wears these they're just very small, round, violet sunglasses all the time. Does not matter how bright or dark it is, they're always on her face because she thinks they're cool. She is a prize gunfighter in her normal life, and she very much enjoys going on missions for the Enclave, just so long as they don't actually interrupt with her actual life. She's very much a call me, please, but if I've got something else going on, I'm not going.
That's a perfect segue into explaining what the Enclave is. All of these characters and many, many more besides are members of the Enclave. The Enclave is a shadowy mercenary organization that exists within an infinite, self-contained multiverse called Manifold. Anything is possible in Manifold. All of these characters come from completely different locations, completely different backgrounds, completely different worlds, and yet are brought together by the Enclave, the one thing omnipresent within the infinite world. And they're going to be sent out to another completely separate part of that infinite world today. And the way that we will determine where they are going is through focus words. Focus words are words or short phrases that I will use as inspiration to generate a mission for these three warriors on the spot. And so, let's get focus words. In the same order you introduced yourselves, one word or short phrase, anything goes. Fire away, please. One each.
Retinol production.
Retinol production. Excellent. And next?
Panicking, so taking off a hat before establishing the hat.
Taking off a hat before establishing the hat. Establishing the handwriting hat. And lastly,
Cones and rods.
did you say golems and rods?
No, cones and rods.
Cones and rods. Excellent. Okay. Well, thank God I have at least two cohesive things to work off of here.
I'm so
Awesome.
sorry.
No, I love a challenge. Okay. I am going to go and generate the mission. Shouldn't take me more than 5 minutes. In the meantime, I'd like you all to discuss your characters. Feel free, of course, to interact with chat. You can get into a little more detail about them, discuss, this is again entirely out of character, so you can discuss potential strategy, potential ways your characters might interact, potential synergies you want to keep an eye out for. Whatever you deem fit, I will let you take the stage while I'm gone. Be back soon.
I did forget to mention that Justine wears like a belly dancer's outfit most of the time, but think more tribal style, not cabaret. So layered skirts, and her layered skirt, one of the skirts is a pocket skirt. It is a skirt of many pockets. And that's where she keeps everything. And she wears coins, coin belts, and coins jingly janglies, but is only heard when she wants to be. So she's just really chill, but also can be a little diva attitude. So I don't know how that. I think she would be very drawn. And Garnet, I didn't catch your character's name.
Claudette.
Claudette, that's right. So yeah, I think she'd be drawn to Claudette because of your outfits.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad that the bells, because I was just like, because when you were saying the different skirts, I just went, oh no, there goes all the stealth. 'Cause I have some of those scarves and there is no sneaking anywhere.
You know, as a belly dancer, 'cause I'm a semi-professional amateur, I can move very quietly in my entire getup. If I don't want you hearing my coins, you're not hearing my coins.
Very nice.
Yeah, it just takes
I don't have that kind of practice, so it's good to know.
Yeah, ninja steps. You gotta be real smooth and quiet and steady.
If you're talking about diva, Siri is definitely also a diva. I think that could be fun.
Yeah, Justine doesn't come off super diva, but it's more in the way that she speaks. She's used to speaking to people in a certain manner with a certain tone. And it's not disrespectful diva, but it is like if you think back to like before movies were a thing, those types of divas where they're just a well-respected performer within the community, not like Taylor Swift or something.
Mm.
I was having a really hard time thinking of any modern divas because I don't keep up with music.
Please carry on, everyone. It's not often that I have trouble with this, but you guys gave me a tough set. Pat
It's
yourself
always
on
been
the
my
back.
goal.
I'm going to take out the headphones. 1 second.
What makes this more interesting is the cones and rods that I was discussing, that I was thinking of when I mentioned them, were the ones in your eyes that actually help you see.
Picked up on that. See you.
Just like that's gonna be it's gonna be a fun thing. No, Claudette isn't really, it's not really a diva, it's more of a let's get this done so we can go get drinks and then go home. Like, what is the fastest way to accomplish this so we can get paid, get drunk, and go to bed?
Good order of
Because I have
operation.
things, yeah, it's like I have things to do tomorrow. So it's like this fit into my schedule, but my schedule waits for no one. So let's get this done. And then we'll celebrate, we'll get our money, we'll go celebrate, and then go our separate ways.
There was a recent mission, oh my gosh, that I played where I did not get a chance to celebrate at all because I jumped off a cliff right before we got to end it. So hopefully that won't happen again because I was very worried that it would end after I finished jumping off the cliff. So hopefully that won't happen again.
Okay. I think I have something. We'll see how this goes. All right. Here is going to be, next thing we're going to tackle is going to be your mission statement. This is when I give a summary of the mission at hand, and you will have your opportunity to ask all questions that may come to your mind. The mission statement and all answers are known in character, but a question can come from an out-of-character perspective if you prefer, or an in-character perspective. Either is fine. You are being sent to a bootlegged manufacturing plant, a small factory that is effectively operating completely outside of the local law. What are they manufacturing here? Prosthetics. This is of a couple of different varieties, though they are especially well known, and as is going to be relevant for this mission, for the production of glass eyes. This manufacturing plant is owned by a crime syndicate that is well known and is criminal to everyone in all but name. They operate just barely outside of the law and have bought off and paid off enough people to not be completely nailed for it. The rough time frame, think of it as being slightly prior to Speakeasy era. So if you think roughly 1910s, but this isn't classic Americana. Think of it more like Soviet era in terms of the overall aesthetic as well as the surroundings. It's rather bleak and cold in this part of the world. Now, you are being sent here because you're being actually employed by the criminal family who runs this enterprise, or I say family, criminal organization who runs this enterprise. They have noticed that more and more of their workers over the last couple months have been behaving oddly. As you might expect, these workers are not entirely all just connected to the crime family. Many of them, in fact, are people who have been bullied or browbeaten or just offered a decent job and need one. And yet, they have noticed them disobeying orders more often, not showing up to work more often, ignoring threats more often. And they are starting to get concerned, both for their business, but more that there is something even bigger at play. Of note, they believe that it has something to do with the glass eyes that are being manufactured and produced here. The reason being is that the workers who first seemed to manifest strangeness all actually were in possession of glass eyes themselves. This part of the world recently had a very brutal war, and a lot of war-wounded people needed prosthetics. In fact, a lot of the people who got prosthetics got them from this crime family and worked for them to pay off their debt. This culminates to the present day, where they recently had the factory go dark. They haven't been able to get any message in or out for several hours now. The time is currently the evening. The workday should be ending, but they've been trying to contact them since just after noon, and nothing has happened. Even the people in the factory who they are relatively prominent within the crime family are not responding either. Your job is to determine what is going on, solve the problem, and if the problem cannot be solved, to get out with enough information about it such that you can inform your employers of what they should and advise them of how they should proceed. Questions?
Are the glass eyes magical in any way?
No, not intended to be at the very least. They are very good, high-quality prosthetics. And I should add, none of the prosthetics they sell here are magical. Other
Which
questions?
members of the syndicate are still in the building,
Yep, excellent
or at
question.
least are supposed to be still in the building?
So there's no one of tremendous rank, but if you're going from like the very inner circle of the syndicate, and there's maybe a few people who are like 3, 4 ranks down, the manager of the factory is one. Do you want some names? I can give you some names.
Yeah.
Yes.
The manager of the factory is a man named Minos, Minos. He has a long track record of service within the crime syndicate. He was practically born into it, but he's not like a fighter. He's a managerial type. There are 2 other people within the syndicate's hierarchy who are relevant. One is a fixer, as they call them. So in this case, a trained hitman and assassin who is the primary enforcer at this factory. Her name is, and this one might require a spell, Gyanacet. Gyanacet. And last person of note is the chief communications officer at the facility. He is a very old man who was a war wounded and joined the syndicate relatively recently. And his name is Irdan. Other questions?
Approximately how many workers are currently in the building?
At last known time, somewhere in the range of 20 to 30.
And
Other
does the crime family have any like known like people who don't want them around?
Yes, they have many enemies. A tremendous number of enemies.
Any enemies that have more than like let's say 10 people in agreement of being enemies?
Oh
I
yeah,
don't know how to phrase it.
they have other major syndicates who are gunning for them. Quite a few. The name of the syndicate, I should say, is called the Windy City Syndicate. You can call them the Windies, Windy Cities. They respond to all sorts of things.
Doors locked. Do we know? Like
Um,
when they say that it went dark, this is
Yeah.
technologically like the 10s, so it's not like they have magnetic locks.
They would not. And even if the front door was somehow locked, there's at least a half a dozen other ways into the building at ground level, so you should definitely be able to get in. Including a cargo bay, for the record. One other thing of note is that the location that this factory is in is a relatively small podunk town, and all the people there have been thoroughly intimidated to not want anything to do with the operation. So you should not count on outside assistance. This is the Windy City Syndicate's only presence within this town, and so they don't have other eyes around who can help relay information to them.
You said there were glass eyes. Where were they getting the glass to make these eyes?
That's an excellent question. It's a foreign import, and the syndicate is large enough and has enough layers of complexity that exactly where is not super clear. It's known that it's overseas. and it's known that they had to work through like a translator or a liaison to get their hands on it.
Will my map update when I open it inside?
Yes.
Awesome. I thought so.
Any final questions?
Yes. What
Yeah.
was the last known communication?
Last known communication was a fairly standard set of operational calendar updates, effectively saying that, yes, they're sending out a shipment. That shipment never arrived at its intended destination, and that they were planning on letting the workers out early because there is a local holiday. Of note, like with many powerful crime syndicates, their intention is not to piss off the local populace. They're actually largely liked. They're just also feared. You know, they're trying to strike that balance between being preferred to more stable forms of local despotism and being respected. In that case, let's proceed to assembly. The group of your characters are meeting together in a convening room in Enclave HQ. They would have teleported to Enclave HQ from all their different respective locations to come here. The knowledge of the mission is with them already. And at this point, you guys are all in character. You have a brief amount of time for your characters to get to know each other before you will proceed. I am going to try to interfere in this as little as possible. If we need prompting, since it seems appropriate, we can say that Claudette seems the type to be the first to the room, and that Siri is the second, with Justine being the third. So we will begin with an interaction between Claudette and Siri. Take it away.
Well, hello.
Oh, hello. I haven't seen you around before. Is this your first mission?
Not my first, but I tend to do few and far between.
First with me, at least.
So it seems.
Yes. What exactly do you do?
So Claudette will just unbutton the bottom button of her duster and just show off her guns that are at her hips. She will pull them out and just do those like fancy fun gun tricks that you see like from the old westerns, and then put them back in their holsters.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Honey, if you're flirting with me, it's working.
We can say this is the point where Justine enters.
And it seems we have a trio.
Usually, things are better in threes. Siri, darling.
Oh, it's wonderful to see you again.
I don't believe I've had the pleasure of making your acquaintance. Justine YL.
Claudette.
Pleasure. I love your outfit. Lacing.
I could say the same about you. But are you
You.
going to be warm enough?
I burn with the passion of my people. I'm always warm enough. And if not, she reaches in, starts rummaging through her skirt of many pockets, pulls out a sweater. I've got this.
A woman who comes prepared.
I think all of us in this
Always.
room are hot enough to make it there.
Siri, have you not found someone to quench your desires?
We're working on it. Some, people back home, but nobody really my type.
We've got to get you over to my area someday.
Oh, one day, one day.
At this point, an Enclave attendant enters the room, anonymous and suited and impeccably mannered. They politely stand to one side, gently raise one hand, and then gesture wordlessly out of the room towards the teleportation chambers.
Our chariots await.
Not gonna lie, I always get a little nauseous.
So do I.
You are led through Enclave HQ, with its labyrinthine passageways and vaulted ceilings, beautifully decorated but only ever in shades of gray, the color only ever added by the dozens upon dozens of strange agents from distant lands, yourselves included. Eventually, you are brought to the teleportation chamber, a small room with rounded corners and edges, in which 3 gently pulsing teleportation pads await you.
Who's gonna go first? Me. It's
Justine
gonna
will
be me.
pop a ginger chew and walk on over.
And as you take your places atop the telepads, you hear gently, coaxingly, "Agents, please hold your position." And then the familiar, but unfamiliar, and always uncomfortable feeling of dissociation starts to pass through your body, beginning at your toes and working its way all the way up through every joint in your body. As it does so, it feels like an icy hot sensation hits that position before it falls numb, and then when it hits your eyes, they explode into color, and the world is void and nothingness and rainbows. Until it isn't anymore, and you're hit by an immediate, crisp, biting cold. In front of you, you see the factory. It's a brutalist building, all concrete, very small windows, with a huge bay door on one side visible. The building is not enormous, for the record. When I say factory, it's no bigger than like a small middle school. But compared to the other small houses that you see down the road to your left, it's a positive palace. It also has a number of vehicles out front, a couple of carriages for one, and a set of stables off to the side, but also a handful of very old-timey cars. And even one very old-timey looking hauling truck or rig off to the side. The yard of the factory is full of supplies. At first it looks like utter chaos, but there's an order to it that you pick out quite quickly, much like if you walked into like a Home Depot or something of that nature. Of note, half of the lights in the building are on. The windows are very small, so it's not like you can get a good glimpse of to what is beyond them, but the light is bright in the rooms that it's on and streaks out, sending these little beams out into the night from every direction. Immediate actions. Let us begin with Garnet.
Claudette is going to assess how many doors and windows she can see from just where she's standing.
Absolutely.
To try to figure out how many potential exits there could be, assuming that at least the amount of windows stays the same throughout
Yep.
the building.
Could you remind me of Claudette's sensory stat? Does she have 1 or more pluses in it?
She has, what did I give her?
She'd have at least 1.
Sensory, she's got 2.
Awesome, thank you. In that case, she can very easily count from just her current vantage point, which of course only sees like one face of the building. She sees the bay doors, though she can't see inside of them. The bay doors kind of jut out from one side of the building. You don't even know if they're open. However, that's 1. You can see that the main doors to the factory are in front of you, and on this same face of the building, off to the left side, there's a much smaller, maybe a access door, maintenance door, something like that. And then in terms of windows, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see 24 of them, though the windows are admittedly quite small. You would have trouble shimmying through them, and they are, frankly, anyone would if they weren't a child. And they all are a single pane of glass with no ability to open or close.
Okay.
Any
Not
follow-ups
much
from
for
Claudette?
ventilation. I just really hope it isn't zombies. That would be annoying.
Let's
Last time
follow
there
up
were
with
zombies,
Siri.
it was so annoying.
If this is another monster one, I will be leaving immediately. And then she kind of takes a deep breath. Justine, darling, can I take your arm for a moment?
Of course.
And she's going to link her arm with Justine so that she can close her eyes and attempt to viewpoint onto the factory manager, Minos or that guy.
Sure. How do you know where he is, or do you want to try to take a
So,
guess?
this is my thought, and I have a huge hunch that Siri's going to land on viewpointing the wrong person, but I think that's okay. Is she's going to kind of jump from like the nearest entity to nearest entity and viewpoint and find the first person who has depth perception.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, traditionally, of course, you would need to be able to see someone in order to viewpoint, and you're shooting blind here.
This is true. This is true. I think, I might need a minute.
That's
I might need a
totally
moment.
fine. Take a minute to think. Justine, any immediate actions from you while taking Siri's arm?
So we landed in front of the front door, yeah?
This is in front of the
Or
factory
the-
yard, so it's like, less
Okay,
than a
so we're not even
30-second
in-
jaunt to the front door.
Okay, yeah. Well, Claudette, Siri dear, feel free to keep a hold. But shall we? I mean, front door is merely right there. I say we knock, and if anything, if you'd like to, just stand back out of view of the door. Maybe I can get them distracted. Couple of us wee beautiful divas out here. One who's obviously inebriated. Look, she can't even walk. I have to hold her up. Please, I need a good, strong man to help me. A ruse?
I love it.
Sounds good to me.
The group of you proceed across the factory yard. As you are walking, any actions from Justine or from Claudette? Let's start with Justine here as you're proceeding.
Just gonna get my ruse face on. That's really it. Get ready for this performance.
Absolutely. And any actions from Claudette?
Claudette is incredibly dramatic when she opens up her duster and pulls out her guns. There's no need for it. No one's watching her, but she does it anyway because she loves a good flourish. And she is just going to be ready to shove her revolver under someone's chin if need be.
Absolutely. As you approach the big set of double doors, you see that they have those little punch card thingies that you see in those old-timey factories with the pull down and then it punches the card automatically. You see one of those. There's a bunch of punch cards still in there, in fact. The light in the room beyond the door is so bright that it actually emanates underneath the door and through the cracks in it. Anything you'd like to do as you approach? Are you going to knock? Are you going to just push your way open? What do you want to do? And who is going to be taking point on this?
Planning on knocking and just politely, please let me in. My friend and I, we're lost, and she's a little too drunk. She had a too much, tipple too much.
And you said you're just tapping at the door as you do this.
Yeah, I'm not doing a cop knock. I'm doing a very ladylike knock.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you do so, you make you hear immediately from the other side of the door. There are footsteps, though the factory, for being a factory, was rather quiet as you were approaching it. You did not hear sounds of machinery from the outside. But as soon as the door opens, you are greeted by sound. You're greeted by machines whirring and the brutal noise of glass cutters in action and the tromping of boots and the hauling of items. There are maybe half a dozen people in this room, all of whom are burly men in humble attire. The one who opened the door, you can see that he has a prominent glass eye, pretty obviously in his face. He's an older fellow with a pipe out of the side of his heavy jowled mouth. He blinks at you with the glass eye kind of making the one eyelid slightly lazy as he says, "Dearie me, you must come in, hadn't you not? What are you doing outside?"
She got too tippled. A tipple too much. And we lost our driver. He had a flat or something,
Oh,
and
goodness me, goodness me.
we really just need somewhere to rest for a moment and then
Of
possibly.
course.
Have you had a telephone installed yet?
He says, telephone. Rushka! He yells over his shoulder, and another man yells back. The other man comes hurrying over after dropping his box to the ground. This man is a good deal younger, but also, you notice, has a glass eye as well as a prosthetic, not a prosthetic arm, but like a prosthetic hand. And you can see that he says, please do come inside. We will try to put on some tea for you or something. He says, he grabs a cloak off of like a cloak rack nearby and passes it over hurriedly. And then the other one is already grabbing another cloak to pass over to you. Both of them kind of murmur apologies, though it seems that they don't speak Metro, the common language of Manifold, very fluently, so half of it is in their own language, as they kind of like usher you away from the door in the cold. It's quite warm in here. The machines are whirring, and they produce plenty of heat. You can see the other 4 or so men in this room look over curiously as you are ushered across the factory floor away from the machines. Any actions you'd like to take as you're entering into this bustling space?
Would there be
Seeing as how they're not
anything?
hostile. I'm sorry.
Oh, go for it.
I was just going to say that seeing as though no one is currently hostile, Claudette will holster her weapons and hide them. And, just walk in. But she will sort of like lower the brim of her hat just a little bit. Because she's dressed in all black. Like she is ready for stealth. So she's just going to kind of slide in behind them.
Absolutely. And Justine, what would you like to do?
Would my intelligence stat have anything to help me with linguistics?
Well, first of all, do you have any pluses in it? I think you have 1.
I do.
Is it
Yep,
2?
I have a +1.
Yeah, awesome. So with intelligence and Enclave, it's entirely a collaborative thing. It's about helping, giving suggestions or confirmations or other information based on your own guesses and theories. So what of your own thoughts do you have that might lead you to believe one thing or another about the way that they're speaking or about some other information that might be relevant to what you're going for here? If you need to wait to hear more, that's totally legitimate.
I mean, the accent sounds Slavic. So far, but it's just these 2. So I'm gonna hold off on that for now.
Totally.
Justine's just gonna make a big show of shaking off the chill and putting the cloak over Siri and herself and telling them, thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, it's just been such a horrible evening and I don't even know what to do. We're so lost right now.
The cloak smells pleasantly of farmhouse. And as you do so, the older man, the older man says, yes, I do not know what to do either, but at least you can have something warm in the kitchen and maybe we bring you to train station after. He opens a door into a pitch black room and starts to usher you inside with Claudette just behind him and the other man.
Do you maybe possibly have a light for in here? I am not as acclimated to the dark as some denizens may be.
But as you say this to him, there's no response, and Claudette sees why. The second the 2 men stepped over the threshold into this room, they vanished. Now, I should note, both Siri and Justine are fine. They're standing in the darkness and have not vanished. And Claudette can see the unnatural way that the darkness stops at the door. They're fine, but the men vanished.
Ladies, come back towards me.
Now, turn us around.
And Justine sees it too.
Oh. I have something for this. One moment. She pulls out her infrared headlamp that she picked up on, what was it, Mission 11 or something? Or
Yeah, I
number
remember
4.
this one.
With Nara. Straps it on. Does this light penetrate this darkness?
As she turns on the infrared headlamp, you can see fine. I mean, maybe not fine, but you can see in the kitchen area now. It's a small kitchen, no sign of either man at all. In fact, stepping where they were, there's nothing there either. The kitchen is, like I said, cramped, full of stuff. Looks like it was very recently used. There is a tea kettle. You could heat yourself up something if you wanted. And the kitchen does seem to have 2 other doors, presumably to little pantries or something like that. Before we go further with that, Siri, you presumably still have your eyes closed, but from context clues, you can pick up some of what's going on. Do you have any other things that you'd like to try out with that viewpoint, or do you want to move on to other things?
So with the viewpoint, I do want to point out that it does not say you have to see the target. It says you have to focus on the target, which is
Indeed.
slightly different.
It's
So I would like to
very
point
true.
that out. But second of all, I want to be so I mentioned before that I like the idea of jumping from person to person, trying to find the right person. So I'm trying to find somebody who, one, has depth perception, because then they'll have at least both eyes, which would be nice. And then
Yeah.
2, be looking out for somebody who feels who has a sense that something's wrong. These people seem to be acting as though they're still in their everyday lives. I want to try to find somebody who can see depth perception and feels uncomfortable in that
Totally.
way.
Now, focusing is going to be hard when you don't know someone's name, you don't know about them. With someone you know, like, it's much more easy to remote target in that way if you want to try for that. Now, if you want, that could mean that you're going for someone on the factory floor. You can see one of them's kind of obstructed by machinery, but you can see 3 other men from here. And so you
The
could try to
person
find one of those.
the person I would like to go is Minos, since I have his name and I
Yeah.
know his role.
That's true. You do have his role. You don't know what he looks like, nor where he is, which does makes it a lot harder. So is there any way you want to try to overcome that hurdle, or do you want to try to shoot blind and see if you can grab something?
Overcome the hurdle by only I still had my eyes open when we were outside and saw that there were some
Yeah.
rooms that were lit and some rooms that were not. So
Yep.
eliminate the rooms that aren't lit.
Okay. So in one of the rooms that are lit, you know his name, you know his role. You gonna go for it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And in this case, as you activate the viewpoint, your vision is overwhelmed by blinding light. And almost like cigarette burns forming within the light. You see a name spelled out, or rather, maybe not a name, maybe a word, though it's probably a name because you see a Mr. in front of it. Mr. and then G, R, E, Y. But you don't see a face. You don't see a person's perspective. You don't see anything that you're used to seeing from a viewpoint.
Is lie spelled out? Could you spell that for me?
Or pardon, Grey, the letter.
Y. Okay. The letter Y. Thank you. Intriguing. All right. I'll take that. And also I would like to be playing up being drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And one last thing is when people were talking in the other room in the language we didn't know, could I get the sense that if they were saying things because they knew we didn't understand their language? Like sometimes you get the
Oh, I
idea
see what
that
you mean. Yeah, yeah. I forget, do you have a spirit stat right now?
um I have a lot in arcane.
You
Uh
do.
it looks like I don't have any to spirit at the moment.
Yeah, that would be an empathy insight.
I do have one in vitality, if that does
Vitality is
anything.
nice, but it's not going to be an insight giver. So in this case, it's probably not something you can pick up. You at least didn't see anything or hear anything obvious in their voice. That was
Yeah, I
it.
had my eyes closed, so that checks out.
Indeed.
All right, that's it for me.
Totally. Claudette, Justine, any actions from the 2 of you now that the men have vanished? You are at least partially in the kitchen, and Justine is looking around with the infrared headlamp.
I would like to see if the other workers noticed that these men just disappeared.
Not at all.
So does it
Hmm.
seem like they can still see them? Or did they just not? Are they just
They aren't
busy
paying
with their
attention to
work?
the right now. They're busy with their own work.
Hmm. Is there anything of note, anything that I could potentially like sift through without it feeling too like, hey, what are you doing?
Well, it is a kitchen, and they did invite you in it, so presumably you have some right to rummage through the pantries a bit. Is there anything you'd be looking for?
I mean, Garnet, hide stuff all over my house all the time. So like, a note
Yep.
inside like the sugar or whatever, just like anything that feels out of place,
Certainly.
even like a help me somewhere.
Yep. As you are hunting through, any actions from Justine with her headlamp?
Uh, let's see. You said that it appears that the kitchen had been recently used.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Imagine they have an ice box.
Hunting around for a moment, yes, they do, though it is a small one.
Okay. And then you said there was a kettle. So yeah, Justine's gonna just walk around and do kind of temp checks on things and see, like, is there warm water in the kennel? Is the ice box actually cold? Are the contents of the ice box present and seemingly good?
Excellent questions all. The kettle is cold. The icebox is cold.
Good.
Not cold like ice, but cold like kind of room temperature-ish, though the ice itself is cold to the touch. Even though the kitchen itself looks like it has been recently used, the temperatures do not indicate as such.
Okay.
Now, Claudette, your brief search has not yielded particularly much fruit. You see that there are like one or two small notes, but they're pretty prominently out there and seem maybe more like reminders of some nature. They're also written in a local dialect, which you have zero idea how to read, but they're pretty short. However, the darkness, even with your good sensory stat, makes it actually quite hard to see. Normally, Claudette would be able to see in the dark pretty much no problem, but this is a very deep dark, despite the fact that a room full of light is right next to you. Is there anything else that she would like to do? And if not, or if you need a moment to think about it, let's move on to Siri.
She wants to test this darkness, but she's not sure how. Do either of you have matches?
Something that could maybe work.
Just strike up a flame. I need to know if this is the type of darkness that eats the light, or if it is the type of darkness that runs from it.
What would Siri like to do?
I remember someone else did it. I forget who it was, but I played a mission where someone cast a phantasm and focused on the idea of the sun to make a small orb of light.
Yeah, that would be Aris.
I would like to also do that, and in addition, my phantasms, because my level up, are slightly solid. So I think instead, to kind of match the aesthetic, focus on the idea of a light bulb that maybe we could hold and pass around.
Oh, I love that. And frankly, remembering how Aris did it is a great hook in to make yourself do it as well. So I love that, yeah. In that case, Siri I saw you do something like that with your hand. Is that what she'd be doing as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. A light bulb appears in her hand, giving light to the room. And as soon as it appears, just where they were, the two men are there and are walking in. You see that for a moment they continue with their thread of conversation. Get you some tea, and then they seem briefly confused. Oh, there you are. The older one moves over towards the kettle, and the younger one goes over to the pantry. But as they hit kind of the periphery of the light, you see that they're like half faded, and they stop moving again.
Can I step towards them?
And as soon as you step towards, they start moving again.
Sir, we've been waiting for you for a little while now.
The one that you step towards. Oh, did you want to step towards the older fellow with the kettle or the younger fellow with the prosthetic at the pantry? Because they're on different sides of the room.
Hedge my bets and go younger.
Sure. And as you say this to him, he turns around and says, I'm very sorry. I did not intend to leave. Don't know words, sorry. Leave you there. I'm just trying to find a warm drink for you. And he gestures over to the other man, who is not visible at the moment, by the way, but he gestures to him as though he is. And he will boil the water, and then you can have some warm tea, and then we bring you in carriage to train, eh?
I'm feeling I can't see quite right. Where's your friend?
He says, what do you mean, ma'am? He gestures over your shoulder as though it's obvious.
I just haven't been feeling very good today.
Oh, of course, of course, of course. You see that he hurries out from the pantry with whatever little thing of tea or whatever he has and goes hurrying over towards the stove as well.
I'm gonna hand the light bulb over to Claudette.
Claudette, what would you like to do?
This is not the type of darkness that eats the light. It eats time. Huh.
With light in hand, what would she like to do? The two men are out of the light's reach at the moment, and as such are not moving. Presumably, you can't see them.
Yeah. So then she will, understanding, at least thinking she understands how this works. They, walked in, continuing their conversation. So now where they are presumably stuck in that moment. She's gonna search the kitchen again a little bit more thoroughly now that she has light in hand.
Sure. Is she going
see
to
if there's
try to keep
anything
them... Oh, pardon. Please finish what you were saying.
Just to try to see if there's anything that looks out of the ordinary outside of the extreme darkness.
Absolutely. A major question for you. Are you going to be trying to stay away from the two men to keep them frozen, or do you want to wake them up, so to speak?
In the beginning, she wants to be able to like rummage freely, so she's going to walk to the opposite side of the room. But then she will go back to them and try to keep them together,
Sure.
so that they can not be frozen, because that feels really weird and wrong. She just needs a moment to search the space without them wondering why she's going through their stuff.
Before we go further with that, Justine, let's catch up with you briefly.
So if I understand the way this is working, the sunlight or bright light, visible light, is causing these people to reappear. But the infrared light that I can see with does not allow them to reappear.
Exactly
Correct?
right. That's what you have observed.
Okay. This is cool. Cool. Even though I can't interact with them, one of my first personal instincts is to go over and start like messing with the guys, but that's not what Justine would do. This is not the time and place for that. Oh, let's see.
If you need a moment to think, there's a thing I can resolve here. Reason being is as Claudette crosses the room to continue searching, the light in her hand reveals another person who, as of up until this point, light hadn't touched yet. You see that he's sitting at the table with his feet kicked up and his boots off. He's clearly midway through, like maybe lunch break or something like that, because he has like a little biscuit or something in his hand. And the second you come into sight, he's like midway through chewing. He almost chokes on the biscuit, throws it down, and jumps to his feet, taking his hat off. As for his eyes, you can see that he does not have any prosthetics.
At all.
No. He is he's one of the few unmodified fellows here. He's wearing slightly different attire from these fellows too. It's like slightly more upscale. But as he leaps to his feet, he says, "Hey, who are you? 3.
I'm Siri. I'm drunk.
And he says,
Siri.
"Good to meet you, ma'am. And yourself?" He looks to Claudette. His eyes are wide, but you can see that he is composing himself to some degree. Oh, I cannot hear your voice at the moment. Can you say that again?
Uh,
You're good.
Hello. Okay. My name is Claudette. My
Claudette.
friend is very intoxicated. Your workers were kind enough to allow us to warm up in here while we try to find a new ride, as our original coach driver disappeared on us,
I
so we
see.
could make our way home. They were just
Coach
making us
driver.
some tea.
Right. And he looks over. Oh dear. And yourself? He says,
Oh, you're not familiar with me?
he says, I wish I were. Do you need a coat?
No, I'm fine, darling. Thank you.
Very well.
May I have your name first?
Certainly. Irden, pleasure to have you. Um,
Ayrton.
Surprised to have you. Now, if you wouldn't mind, please join me at the table. Enough biscuits to go around. He pushes a pack of them across the table. And he says, let us be perfectly honest with each other. There is no conceivable way three such fine ladies as yourself are going on a joyride in this part of the countryside. What on earth are you doing here?
Did you see
Ayrton.
Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry. Siri first and then Justine.
Did you see Mr. Gray?
And as soon as you say that, his face falls slightly. You can see that his eyes kind of go blank slightly. Mr. Gray. You see that he almost looks like he's swooning for a second. And then he shakes his head. Pardon me. I'm so sorry. I didn't hear you. Justine, do you want to finish what you said?
Darling, I believe that you are employed by the Windies, no?
Yes, indeed. He says,
You are Ayrton, their communications officer?
yes. Yes, I am.
Ah. We're here to
Irden,
help.
I should note, by the way, Irden was reported to you to be an older fellow. This guy does look quite young, but the more you look at him, he's young for his age, or young looking for his age, it would seem. The wrinkles
Good
become more apparent.
skincare.
Exactly, yeah.
Lots of retinol production.
So please carry on.
Yes, your employers, they've asked for us to help.
Oh, really? I didn't
And
know that.
you did a funny thing just now. Do you know you did a funny thing?
I
I don't think he
don't
knows that
mean
he's
to
been
have.
doing a funny thing.
What? Is there something on my face? He takes a
No,
napkin
darling.
out.
Oh, no. No. But up until about 2 minutes ago, you were frozen solid.
Or ephemeral. I mean,
You had me going for a moment.
none of us ran into him, so I doubt he was actually solid.
I see. No, no, no. Don't worry. Don't worry. I understand perfectly now. I'm so sorry. We do not currently allow for the employ of any form of prophecist or witch. I appreciate it. Respect your work, but it's not on company dime. You understand,
Would
of course.
you? I know it's not on company time, but would you allow me to do something just for my own personal benefit?
You see that
Do indulge her.
he kind of looks you up and down for a moment and says, "Why not? Don't let the drink make you regret anything." And
Can
he
I see
sits
your
back.
hands for a moment?
Fine. He passes out his hand and rolls his eyes slightly.
Oh no, it's gonna still be on cooldown. No, I wanted to do viewpoint again. I forgot.
I should note, by the way, the
Oh.
last viewpoint was so short that you do have it up.
Yes, okay. I would like to close my eyes and viewpoint him. And one of the things I like about viewpoint is it says see the world through the eyes of a chosen target, not necessarily
Indeed.
what they're seeing right now. So I would like to, thinking of that specific imagery that I saw when I saw the word Mr. Gray, of that kind of like cigarette trail. Try to dig through and see if I can find another instance of a Mr. Gray maybe involving a cigarette.
Now, that would imply some sort of mind reading. And since this is something about his current perception, you would probably need to prompt it.
Okay. I'll say, can you remind me of the Mr. Gray you mentioned again?
And you can see that as he has his hand out, you can see that his eyes go blank one more time. Now,
All right, I want to go as soon as that happens.
yeah. And Siri would notice out of his eyes that something very strange happens. The room, which to his perspective is dim, right? It's just the light that's currently in Claudette's hand. It becomes, again, incredibly bright just for a moment. And you can see that that cigarette burn starts, but doesn't spell out the whole name this time.
All right, I'll let it go. It doesn't need to be that long.
And he shakes himself free again. He says, "Oh, whatever you're doing, it certainly tried to put me to sleep. Not in the job, though."
Not on the job. My friends, we have, I think, a culprit at our hands. And I explain to them the kind of Mr. Gray vision that I had, and that perhaps this is some person who cast a spell, is my guess.
Now, of note, again, every time you mention the name Mr. Gray, he dissociates for like 10 seconds, right?
Yeah.
But so your explanation, he doesn't get your full explanation, but I don't think you necessarily care about that. Claudette, Justine, any reactions to this or actions you'd like to take from here?
Now, from where I'm standing, is the light touching the other two, or are they
No,
just?
it is not.
It's not. I love
Pull out
this.
my map.
I just wish it were bigger.
And as Justine pulls
Don't
out
we
her map,
all, darling?
she gets a full layout of the factory. It is, like I said, size of like a small middle school. Reasonably sized. The floor that you're on right now constitutes like almost a third of the factory because it's like one huge building that has all the machines in it. A lot of the rest of it is like offices and inventory spaces and workers, like break rooms and the like, as well as, again, some like managerial stuff up above. I should note that the manager of the factory, Minos, actually lives here full time. Now, this is, and again, the factory is in total 3 floors. The floor you're on is very, very tall because it's where all the factory floor machine is. Then there's a second floor above it, and then there's a basement below. But again, the gap between first and second is quite tall. Any other information you'd like to ascertain from looking at your map?
Just wanted the floor plan.
Excellent.
So
you have that
I'm-
up.
where would Minos's apartments be? On the
Yep, that's
third?
easily done. He's all the way up at the top. So if you go, the
Yeah.
factory floor has like 3 or 4 staircases up. If you go all the way up and then you go to the back of the building, if judging by your map, you shouldn't be able to miss it. It's a small suite.
Claudette, Siri, would we be opposed to dragging poor Mr. Irdon with us to go visit Mr. Minos and see if there's evidence of a Mr. Gray?
Irdon pipes up and says, "I don't know where you're getting poor from," but as before he can finish saying that, you say Mr. Gray and he conks out again.
Well, that's where I'm getting
Yes.
it from, darling.
He seems at least partially useful, so I don't see why not.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Can we still hear the factory working if we're all in this room?
No, you cannot,
Had a hunch. Thank you.
of course.
I'd like to point that out to my friends.
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah,
want
we
to
need
get
to leave
stuck in
this
here.
room. Yeah, no, we need to
Irdon
leave this
comes
room
to.
immediately.
As Irdon comes to, he says, "But we can certainly see Minos if you'd like to. I should be checking in with him pretty soon to deliver my communications report for the day. We have, well, I won't bore you with the details. Go on, may as well go through then." He gets to his feet.
You can bore me with the details. And I grab onto his bicep.
He says, "Well, I suppose I can then. And as he starts to make his way from the room, he gives you a brief rundown of the shipments they have coming in. He says, "You would not believe the sheer quantity of glass that gets processed through this place." He says, "It's glass is pretty expensive out here, so we import it in across the sea. It's beautiful stuff. Look." He actually reaches into like a cart that you guys are passing and pulls out like a piece of glass partway through the development into a prosthetic, and it is admittedly very pretty. Like it's not just clear, straightforward glass. They put dyes into it and actually try to make realistic looking irises. And he says, "It's a very sophisticated process. I'm not entirely on the manufacturing side of things, but I do help organize the shipments and been doing so for quite some time." He says, "But Minos is the guy for all of the logistics. Well, I do the logistics. He handles the practicals. You understand how it goes." He starts to make his way upstairs. As he is doing so, chatting merrily with Justine, actions from Siri and Claudette. Do they want to be going beside? Do they want to be going behind? What do they want to be doing as they are traveling? And then I'm going to ask Justine for the likewise.
As he was talking, did he have a piece of glass that he was showing us?
Yeah, he reached into like a nearby cart and pulled out to show a prosthetic midway through development.
Can I grab one?
Yeah, easily.
I want to hold it up to any light source I see and see if it refracts weird at all.
Yeah. Well, the one that you held up is rough cut. It's not yet polished, and as such,
Okay.
it doesn't reflect brilliantly. So yeah, it does reflect weird, but for like predictable reasons, I guess.
Okay. Neat. I'm gonna keep this.
Yeah, absolutely. I should note, as soon as you guys go back onto the factory floor with him, all the noise of it comes back. The 3 remaining workers are still hard at work, or rather 4, because the one that you couldn't see from that room comes back into view. You can see that one of them gives him like a little half-hearted salute and gives kind of a gesture up to you 3, and he gives a little all clear symbol back to them. Claudette, actions from you as you are being led up and into the second
Yeah.
floor of the factory.
As we are leaving the kitchen, once Eardon is out of the kitchen and back out there, I am going to tell the other two, never mind the tea. Just come back out. We're just going to rest in the warmth so they're not frozen in the kitchen.
Oh, very, very well. That's very kind of you. And they quickly come out, and after some thanks and stumbled kind of assurances that you guys are okay, they go back to work. But as they do so, the older one says, "Eardon will take good care. He's a good man."
Yeah, thank you. And then I'm going to hand the light bulb back to Siri as she's the one who created it, and then I'm going to put gloves on, like leather gloves. They're not really going to constrict me being able to fire, but I don't want to touch anything in here with my bare hands.
So I would say that since this could presumably be part of your outfit, I'm a-okay with you pulling that out.
Yeah,
And also,
no
it makes sense
longer
that a
feel
gunslinger would
comfortable
have-
touching things. Just like,
And it
I
also
don't
makes
know
some
what.
kind of sense that a gunslinger would have like shooting gloves or something. So that sounds great to me. As you are popping those on, Justine, any other actions from you as you are being led up?
Did he toss that glass piece back into the bucket?
Yes, he did.
Damn.
Do you want to stop him?
Yes,
I
I
have
do.
How do you want to do so?
Darling, that is beautiful. May I have a closer look at it? It's amazing. I can see the color striations that they're starting to lay in there.
He says, "Certainly. I'm glad that you can see some of the nuance of it." He passes it over and says, "People think it's like making a children's marble or something. No, much more sophisticated than that."
Oh, of course. I mean, a marble doesn't have the same refractive qualities as an iris, and the artistry in this is beautiful.
He says, "I'm glad that you think so. It's not the most glamorous work, especially compared to what the rest of the Windy City is doing, you understand, but it's this sort of operation that keeps the rest of the syndicate going. And so, they ought to thank us and our eyes artistry."
I could not agree any more.
Yeah, I'm certain you
And
can.
I want to try using a new power that I
do you wanna
haven't used. I want to use By the Wayside. I now
Excellent.
have a found object, and it's an
And
eyeball.
what magical property do you want to infuse this eyeball with?
I want this to have some ability to see what's hidden from me, whether it's someone stuck in a shadow room or if there's like, I don't know why my head keeps telling me a relic
I'm
that's
A-okay
behind a
with that.
brick wall.
We will say that when you hold it up to your eye, it will allow you to see what is magically hidden. Does that sound okay?
Oh, I love it. Yes.
All right. This property has 3 uses. Use them well, but they do not wear off, so you can take as much time as you need. Now, you guys have come up to the top of the staircase, go along a small catwalk, and then through a tight door into the upper level of the factory. At this point, it becomes very like old-timey office space, tight hallways. It's not nearly as brutalist and ugly as it was from the outside. In fact, they've clearly tried to decorate it at least somewhat. Before we get to this point, any other actions that Siri or Claudette would like to take, or are you A-okay with going up the stairs, along the catwalk, and then down into this hallway?
Taking stock of potential places to hide or cover if I, need to shoot at people.
Indeed.
Otherwise, it's just she's racking her brain trying to understand how that room worked and how to keep people, how many more rooms like that are there? What on earth is happening here? Because this is different than any of her other missions. So she's quietly contemplating while also planning multiple either exit strategies or okay, if things start happening, I can here, and here. I've got 3/4 cover with still good vantage points.
Yeah, and fortunately, she has a lot of ability to take stock of that. On the factory floor, tons of options. Up the catwalk, less so, but at least you can pull open doors, and a lot of these are heavier doors, so you should be able to get behind some of those. However, as the door is pulled open, the hallway is dark, and he doesn't seem to notice. He just starts to immediately lead you guys down it. Now, this is relevant because Siri, your phantasm has worn off at this point.
I was going to bring that up actually.
Excellent.
Can I use one phantasm to make 2 light bulbs? I would like 2, please. Or I will do some shenanigans to please.
Beach
So
ball
here's
size.
okay. I don't think I can make them beach ball size, but here's my pitch to you, Robby. I would like to create 1 new phantasm light bulb, and
Yeah.
then using my mirror as like kind of a focusing
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
make a second slightly shittier light bulb. Like
That's
it cat.
awesome. That's like rabbit out of a hat, but like light bulb out of a mirror. That's sick.
Yeah.
Okay, you've sold me. I love it. 2
All
light
right, I
bulbs.
will
And
take.
I'm
Yeah.
even gonna say the second one isn't shitty. Now, these aren't gonna last forever, but they're gonna last some time.
So I'm gonna give 1 to Claudette, and then if it's okay, as we're walking down this hallway, are there any like rooms that are off to the sides?
Oh yeah. As you just go down this first section of the hallway before you hit a T intersection, there's 2 doors on either side.
And I like poke my head, like open a door, poke my head in it.
Yep, absolutely. Poking open one door, you can see that it is a brightly lit but very small office. You can see that there is an incredibly bored-looking worker in there tapping away at a telegraph machine. You see that he looks up and then it's like a massive double take. Oh, I killed my earphones. He does like a massive double take as you open the door. And says, "What?" But as he does so, Iridan says, "Back to work," and closes the door on him.
Can I ask him a few questions, please?
Rude.
And Iridan says, "He's slacking as per usual. I don't know if he needs another distraction."
I promise I'll be quick. I'll meet up with you in a moment.
Very quick, please.
Very
He
quick.
says, "Don't take this as an excuse, Kolkov."
And I want to run in and go, do you want to play a game? Really quick. It'll be a fast game. I promise.
The man is young, maybe even in his like late teens. He's stringy and looks like he is terrified, but also excited. And he says, "You mean what by game? Is this like good fun game where good things happen to me, or is it bad game where I get in trouble for slacking?"
No, not a bad game. If you get in trouble, I'll take the blame. I just want you to help me with something really quick.
Of course, I help you with something. What do you want? Who are you even?
And I want to try to use my fan and just come off as very ditzy.
Yeah.
My name's Siri. I'm trying out this new song game, but I have to be in the other room for you to do it. Can you come with me?
What? Sure. Erdan, it's not my fault. He yells out of the door as he gets up from his desk.
Okay. I want to, as he's walking, go, okay, you just need to sing the song with me, that's all.
Yeah. All right. I sing the song.
Okay, and I
Crazy
do a
woman, what
very
do you want?
I do a very basic song, and I want to lead him into a place that is dark, like like doesn't have any light. Like I want to put the light bulb under my shirt.
Yeah. And as you do so, he says pointedly, "My mother may have warned me about this."
It's not what your mom wants, don't worry. Or what your mom doesn't want. It's fine. Come with me.
He says, "Sure, sure. You He thinks for a second. He says, "Are you like a performer, a soothsayer or something?"
Sure.
He says, "Soothsayer, right. Why did Irdan let soothsayer in building? I don't understand." And after sequestering him off and away, what would you like to do?
Once we're in a place that is dark other than my light bulb, I want
Yeah.
to start singing with him and then put the light bulb under my shirt.
Yeah. And as you start to sing with him, he, again, like kneading his forehead, wondering what the hell is going on, he follows with the song, and the moment you put the bulb under your shirt, he vanishes, and his voice vanishes with him.
Perfect. Okay. I want to take the light bulb out of my shirt. He's still singing, and then I want to
From
close
the
my eyes.
point you left off.
Perfect. And then I close my eyes. Light bulb still open. Or
Yep.
still going.
He's still singing.
That actually made me more freaked out than have answers. Thank you very much. And I go, okay, thank you. You can go back to work. Hopefully it's not too boring. Bye. And then I want to sprint back to my friends.
And as you do so, he says, "What? But wait, that's a shitty game." But as he is saying this, the light leaves him and he vanishes.
Oh no! Oh, it's fine. Nobody else is alive anymore. Everybody downstairs is frozen anyways. It's not like he's the only one who's frozen.
Now, moving back over to Claudette and Justine, Claudette with the light bulb. As you guys make your way down, you get to the T intersection, you hang a right. As you go along this right door, there's this right side of the hallway, there's a couple more doors along it, and you see that he continues to talk and say, "Now, when you meet Minos, he is he's a tough man, but he's a good man. So you know, be respectful and kind, as I'm sure you will be, and as well as you've been treating me, and I'm sure you'll get what you want out of him, all right? If you'd like, I do have a vehicle. Recently acquired it. I'd be happy to drive you to the train station myself."
Oh, darling, I appreciate that. That hopefully once our business here is concluded, which is just getting warm, and like I said, we were sent by the overarching employers. So we do actually have some business, but in any case, we may be taking you up on that offer, darling. That's all I want to say, and I appreciate your hospitality ever so much, as well as your factory workers down below. I didn't quite catch their names. They speak with such a strange accent.
He says, "Oh yeah, the locals out here, they have their own lingo. I only kind of understand it." He says, "Minos knows it. You can talk to him about that, and I do hope you take me up on it. It's I'll be honest, I don't know what the soups are up to sending you out, but I will thank them for it."
I do appreciate
for-
everything that you've done.
And Claudette, yes.
Before you go, do you happen to have the time?
And he says, oh, yes, of course I do. And he pulls out a pocket watch. Flicks it open, he says, 2:49. Snaps it shut.
49. And then she's gonna let him leave, and then she's gonna check her own watch. What does it say?
Well, given that it was dark when you were outside, we can assume that your watch would have been synced to this area. 7:50.
I knew it.
There's a door in front of you at this point. And you can see that it does have Minos's name emblazoned on like a little brass placard. Are you guys going to head right in? Knock? What do you want to do?
Always polite to knock.
Oh yeah, definitely knocking.
As you do so, Siri catches you up from behind. Of note, Siri, as you were sprinting to catch up with the group, you would have passed by Irdan, temporarily unfreezing him. Oh, there you are. Please tell me he's back to, but before you can finish it, he vanishes again.
I think we're being watched.
Oh.
So the people are only moving when we can see them. Like the people in the factory, the lights are on there, but as soon as we leave, they stop working. But if I closed my eyes in front of him, he still was there. So I think somebody else is also watching him. So I think someone might be watching us.
The door opens. Minos is standing there. He's wearing a frown. He's a chiselly man. Funnily enough, he kind of looks older than Irdan, even though he is definitely substantially younger. He has some graying to his beard, and you can see he has a prosthetic leg. You can see that he says, hello, what are you doing here?
Minos, darling. We were sent by the higher-ups. May we?
Really? You?
Yes.
For what purpose?
Entertainment. What do you think?
Hold, please. He doesn't close the door, but instead you hear him scuffle away, and you hear him tap away at something for a moment. Says something in the local dialect into maybe like a phone or a speaker or something. And then comes back over with like a bit of a swagger in his one-legged gait. As he says, the day that the soups send me entertainment is the day I die. He says, if that's today, then you may as well get it over with and put a bullet in my brain. Come in.
Thank you, darling.
He brings you inside. You can see that his suite is nice. It's like not ritzy, but it's pleasant. And as he makes his way inside and sits down on one of the chairs, putting up his prosthetic leg on the table, you can see that he does have like a little communication setup in his own room. He has like a little, maybe a PA system, and then like his own little telegraph machine. But other than that, it's like a sitting room, like a reasonably nice sitting room. He says, please take your seats. Let me start the fire. He says, you're probably cold in that.
Surprised how warm I am.
Maybe. He goes over to the fireplace and starts it up. Any actions from Claudette and Siri upon entering the room?
This is just like his living room, yeah?
Yep, pretty much.
Well, she's not sitting down, but she is going to be very direct. Do you know what is happening in your factory right now?
Hopefully good work. If not, maybe that's why you're here, to put a bullet in my brain.
Luck- Luckily for you, as of right now, we don't think you are the source of the issues.
He pulls himself to his feet and looks back at Claudette square in the eye and says, then why do you have guns?
Oh, I always have guns, darling.
Oh, thank goodness. Not just for me, then.
Oh, no. No, these have currently nothing to do with you.
He says, good, I hope it keeps that way. Show me, I want to see. He goes back over to his chair.
Difficult to show you when you could be affected by it. Have the lights always been on in this room?
Not when I'm asleep.
Okay. Not helpful. Do you know what time it is?
He looks to a clock on the mantelpiece. 2:52.
That's what I thought. Is there a window in the room?
Yes, he has two of the biggest windows you've seen in this space. They're like normal openable ones. And outside, you see a bleak, windy day. Not night. Siri, any actions?
Okay.
Yes. Siri's going to Justine has been on a mission with Siri before, tap them on the shoulder and then kind of head bob her self in the corner, and she's gonna take a seat. And gonna try one more viewpoint on whatever Siri might be wrong, but I fully think somebody's watching us, and I think that person is Mr. Gray. So some sort of entity in the sky that is Mr. Gray that gives her this creep she's gonna try to focus in on.
Yeah.
And look for somebody looking at her.
Yeah. That's very interesting. Give me a little more to how you're gonna, again, kind of indirectly target this. Because you've given me some good stuff, but I want a little bit more.
I think use the mirror again. If she's looking for somebody who's looking at her, she's going to try to see herself in a third person.
Aha! Yes, there we go. That's what I needed. Excellent. And as you activate the viewpoint, you find that you are looking from your mirror at yourself.
And I move the mirror.
And as soon as you move your mirror, your vision flickers completely. It's disorienting as hell for a second. Then you find you're looking out over the room from the mantelpiece, actually the clock face more specifically.
Interesting. She takes the eye that she stole. It's not the most reflective, but takes that and shakes it around a little bit.
Now, the shake doesn't seem to do anything, but you do see it does seem to catch the attention of the viewpoint in the clock face. You can tell that the vision of whoever you're viewpointing focuses in on the eye and then flicks to that. And now you're looking down at yourself again and then over to Justine and over to Claudette from that glass eye. I should note, by the way, that the glass eye, since it's an unpolished, like rough cut one, the vision quality is very shitty when the eyes snap to it.
And viewpoint can work on an object or an entity. Is there a way for me to sense if it's one or the other?
How would you?
I think an object would feel like when I think of viewpoint, I think of like getting a little bit in that person's headspace. If it's an object, that aspect wouldn't be there. It would feel a bit emptier of a viewpoint.
Yeah. It's an interesting point. Give me one more time what you're going for with this.
Attempting
to determine what?
To determine if this thing I'm seeing through has been a series of objects or a single entity.
Single entity. You can
Okay.
feel that for certain. The way that the eyes track, the way that the vision focuses feels person-like. Random objects would not be focusing, for example, on your hand waving something.
All right, perfect. That's all I need. I'm going to end viewpoint.
Absolutely. Let's go back over to Justine and then back over to Claudette. Any actions that Justine would like to take after Minos lights the fire and sits down in his chair?
I'm going to ask him some questions.
Mm-hmm. Like what?
So, how has anything changed recently in the last
not
few months?
Few
A new
months?
supplier?
No, not a new well, maybe a new supplier. We're several places down the chain, you know. It's others in the syndicate who order. I know it's overseas. I will say the quality of the glass has changed somewhat. I think much for the better. we are able to sell more high-end now. He gestures and kind of pats his prosthetic leg and says, "This one we recently made. The one I had before was wood." Ugh.
Oh, yeah. I can get moldy and termites.
Mm-hmm. He says, "And you don't even want to know about the splinters."
Oh, I'm sure I don't. A lap dance on a wooden leg would be very uncomfortable for the
Goodness
dancer.
gracious, where do they come from? Do they all talk like you?
Mm, well, yes.
Maybe I ought to visit.
You should. You should sometime. Best dancers in all of the multiverses.
He says,
No.
I'm sure. Here. You can see that he pops off his prosthetic leg. There's like a little screw noise, and then he leans it against the side of the chair. It's made of pure glass that has been tinted with like a dye that kind of matches his skin tone. And he folds his good leg across his lap slightly into like a slightly more forward seating position. You can see that his eyes, Justine rather, you can see that his eyes kind of lock on yours as he takes off the prosthetic leg, maybe looking to see if he can freak you out, but it's not absolutely clear what he's trying to accomplish as he does so. Before he says, "Now I can only assume that that's part of my entertainment, unless that is just another ruse."
Darling, this is all very entertaining, wouldn't you think? There's a puzzle afoot. Did
Then
you
tell
know
me.
that you have darkened hallways and rooms where
He says,
people just stand still, and also what you see out your window is not what is outside the door?
"I can assure you it is."
I can assure you it is not.
Let me put my damn leg back on. He screws it back on and then gets to his feet. "If I go to the door and I open the door, of course, there is going to be what I expect there to be outside. There's to be my hallway. The hallway is to be lit with the beautiful gray afternoon." He gets to the door, swings it open, says, "See? Obviously. To you guys, you just see pitch blackness." But he gestures as though it's the most obvious thing in the world and slams it shut again. He says, "So what you are playing at, 'tis not working. Entertainment maybe, but confusion mostly."
When did you meet Mr. Gray?
Can see that his eyes go blank for a second.
Ah, ladies, I think we have a winner.
He swoons slightly. Claudette, you can see that he actually is starting to overbalance.
I'll attempt to catch him too. I mean, whichever one of us is closer. I think
Claudette's the
Claudette
closest
stayed
in this
back.
case.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I will reach out a hand to sort of steady him. No, come back,
Yeah.
come back, come back. Follow my voice. Come back.
Uh,
You're okay.
And as he looks at you, you can see that his eyes are different. You can see that rather than a normal eye, he has the black, and then he has a ring of pure white, and then he has a ring of pure black, like a bullseye in each of them.
Mm. To whom am I speaking now?
And Siri is the first to spot that his prosthetic leg is gleaming brightly. It's bright enough that you eventually start to see it through his pants. It's so bright.
Justine, give me that sweater you had.
There you go, darling.
She tosses it.
And I want to rush over and try to cover his prosthetic.
Now, as you wrap it up, you can see that as he swoons and Claudette is looking into his eyes, what does Claudette want to do from here?
There was just the briefest of moments where she was going to try to make a connection with whatever was trying to come through. Is it gone now?
Well, Siri hasn't completed the action yet, so what would she like to try?
All she said was, to whom am I speaking with now?
I see, yeah. You hear a grunt. And the moment's gone as Siri wraps up his leg.
I'm sorry, here. Did you want to keep talking to him?
Oh.
I think it hurts him, so this may not be the best
He
course
blinks
of action.
and rubs his forehead. Oh my god, what a splitting headache. Excuse me, I'm so sorry, ladies. I need to sit down. And he starts to pull his way over to the chair. But as he does so, Claudette would see there's soot on the ground, and it spells out Mr.Grey.
Fantastic.
The soot breezes away, though, and disappears, almost like it's twinkling away into lights.
Where does it go?
Into the ether, like steam rising from a pot. He sits down heavily. And he says to Justine, much as I would love your attention upon myself at the moment, I'm not sure I can muster the energy. I'm feeling very ill.
Well, you were quite
does
overcome.
Does he have any liquor? Rum of any kind? Something?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Some
He has-
bourbon.
He has booze out on a side table.
Great. I'm just gonna grab a bottle of the thing that looks the fullest, and then I'm gonna hand it to him.
He says,
Take a swig of this.
Thank you. He pops it off. Goodness. I apologize. I am normally far more composed when I have company. Perhaps it is the presence of so many beautiful women at one time, unexpected.
Ladies, I have a question for you, if you don't mind.
If it's for
Jesus.
women ears only, I'm happy to leave the room.
Would you prefer to be alone and have a private conversation without prying ears, or would you prefer to speak to the person involved? I think I could do either.
Who are you saying this
I
to? Are you
think-
saying this to your companions?
Yes.
Oh, pardon me, Claudette. Carry on.
Yeah, I think maybe we should discuss what we think is going on before we have a confrontation.
All right. In that case, start throwing anything shiny out into the hallway.
Excuse me?
I'm
Just for a
sorry.
moment.
Excuse me. I know I'm in a compromised state, but there will be no ransacking of my office. Thank you very much.
It's not ransacking. Okay, well, then what's an empty office space you don't care about?
He says, there are many office spaces. If you'd like, we can go to one of those. I would prefer if my personal possessions were not chucked into the hall. Thank you.
All right, then. And as Siri starts walking out, she leans over to her companions to say, Mr. Grey sees through what I assume are things that shine. So to have a private conversation, I think we need to be in actual darkness where he can't see. Oh, maybe just out into the hall. Maybe just out into the hall, actually. Yeah.
I have no
let's try
idea
that.
what you are talking about, but at this point, I
Mm.
don't really care to know. He says,
No worries. Have a seat. We'll be back. And
I
we all
certainly
leave.
shall. He does not protest this
And
at all
then-
as you all step out into the dark hallway. Do you want to have
It-
your phantasms out for the record?
To start with.
Yeah, they're on their last legs. So to start with, it's probably going to be all you can get.
All right, perfect.
So what you're going to see is something that Claudette hates anyone seeing. You said anything shiny. She is going to take off her sunglasses and put them in her pocket
Oh no.
to hopefully remove any sort of reflection. And she's going to, like, her buttons on her coat are also black, so there's not really a reflection there. So she's going to button up her coat all the way to hide her bandolier, and she's going to take off her glasses, and she's going to try not to cry. She's going to put them in her pocket.
Now,
You said remove anything shiny.
Yes, which I think is actually going to be difficult because eyes have a certain amount of shine to them.
Darling, coins. Do
I
you expect
promise
me to
this
stand
isn't
here
a-
nude?
No, I promise this isn't another try for me to steal your jewelry. It's beautiful. I promised I wouldn't do it again. You can just put the sweater on over it.
I don't want that one. Touch that weird glowing leg. Prosthetics shouldn't glow like that.
No, they
That's very
shouldn't.
Starts rummaging in her pocket and pulls out a poncho.
Yeah, that'll do.
So, you have a theory?
Well, I have a bit of a theory of that there's some sort of guest here. Uh, actually, let's see if he's. I don't know how to tell if he's here at the moment. Um, we'll guess on not, I think, because I don't really know a way to prove it or not, but we're in the dark, and I think the dark is where he can't see. Um, but at the point that he came here, two-ish, I guess, whatever he looks at is alive, and whatever he doesn't look at doesn't exist. So my only current two thoughts is one, if we cover up anything that makes light, then he might get bored and leave, and then people will see again. Or two, if I let him see through my eyes, then maybe you guys can talk to him and make him go away.
Interesting proposition. For our own safety and yours, I feel that maybe we should strap you down.
I wouldn't mind that.
Oh, just like mission number 12, all over
Oh,
again.
hush you.
Now,
You know you like that as well as I did.
I did. It was so much fun learning Shibari from the masters.
Now, of note, Justine, in terms of covering things that produce light, you have seen light switches as you guys have been walking around the factory.
Shall we just turn the lights off?
We could try.
Right. Let's see.
Now,
Digs
out in the
around.
hallway. Out in the hallway, it's of course dark. But back in his office, you could certainly quite easily find one. Is that something you wish to do, or is there anything else you wish to do first?
Go shut off lights.
Mm-hmm.
Play bathroom disco. I don't know if anyone else did that when they were a kid. You reach in when your siblings going pee and you go la, 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 la.
Yes, of course. So in that case, proceeding back into Minos' office.
Yes.
As you make your way back in, he looks up from his chair. You can see that he has an ice pack across his forehead. Hello?
That's exactly.
And
It's us again. Thank you.
wonderful. He looks back towards his fireplace, warming his one good foot. I should note the light switches in this building are all the big, like old timey, like trunk kind, rather than the little flicky switch. You know, it's you know the one I'm talking about. That looks kind of like a paintbrush handle. Yeah, and so there's
The
one
ones
of
that
those.
are way more fun to turn on and off.
Yes.
Yes.
And so there's one of those right by his door.
Justine reaches over and just
And the second you turn out the light, first of all, the room falls into an uncanny darkness, much darker than it should be. The outside is also now dark, as though turning off the light turned out the day outside and made it the night that it should be. He vanishes, naturally. And also, I should also note, maybe of some interest, the thing that he was holding, which in this case was the ice pack, falls off of him and just lands on the chair below him. Also of note, is that the ice pack is gleaming brightly, and out of it leaps a figure. The figure has pencil-thin legs and pencil-thin arms, and no defined features, and springs with some amount of agility. It seems to be pure, bright, yellowy white, with just a small outline of black defining some pattern down its chest that you cannot quite make out. But as soon as it leaps from the ice, it leaps again across the room into the clock on the mantelpiece. And the clock face gleams for a second before falling dim.
I want to whisper to my compatriots. Should we just smash the clock? Because you saw that,
Yeah.
right?
He'll go into a different clock.
Claudette is already pointing her revolver at it.
Yeah.
She's just waiting for someone to tell her to shoot it.
I was about to.
Clock, isn't he?
But I don't know. I mean, did you share with us the viewpoint that you had where it seemed to be coming from the clock?
If I didn't before, I'll explain to you now that when I did the viewpoint, the view jumped between different reflective objects. So he could just jump to a different one. Here's a thought. She holds up her mirror. Shoot it now.
Yeah, all right.
Claudette's taking the
Claudette
shot.
Yeah, she's gonna shoot the clock.
Easiest damn shot of your entire career. It's across a small room, and it's a clock face. Clock bits fly everywhere. However, the light emerges immediately. It leaps out of the clock face the millisecond before the bullet strikes it, and leaps through the air as a streaking blur before landing on the ground, almost cat-like in its appearance. Again, it's there present in front of you just for a moment before it starts to lunge again. But in that moment, do you guys have any actions you'd like to take?
Position the clock or position my mirror downwards.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't actually discuss if we wanted to try to talk to this thing or if we were just going to try to eliminate it. So, Claudette is going to try to track it with her revolver, but if it's moving that fast, I don't know if she's going to be able to catch it.
What's her skill stat?
Her skill stat is 3.
Oh, yeah, you can track it. Not easily, but you can.
Question is, do I try to shoot it?
That's up to you.
I'm going to try to shoot it without shooting Siri.
Going to go for it?
Yeah.
You can see that there's a fuzz, almost like TV static. And then it leaps again into Siri's mirror, which gleams for a second. However, where you shot it, you can see that the wall behind it is painted with a spattering of bright white light.
Well, at least now we know we can injure it.
Siri's mirror is dripping light.
Oh.
Hi, friend. I'm sorry we shot you, but you're really creepy and we got scared.
No, that is an accurate statement. That is accurate.
Cover it in the sweatshirt. Wrap it in the sweatshirt. I'm turning the light back on.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as Justine says that, Siri does that as quickly as she possibly can.
And as the light goes back on, you hear, "Goodness gracious, what's this doing here?" He pulls the ice pack out from under his pants, slaps it back on his head, looks to his clock and says, "Oh, come the fuck on."
Darling, I've been trying to tell you
I'm
what
so
you are
sorry.
refusing.
Can you please give me 30 seconds? I'm being beckoned from afar. So sorry.
Oh,
1 moment.
the children, they beckon. Oh, Papa. Papa, I need my after-dinner digestive biscuit.
Okay, here we go. So sorry.
No worries.
Please, carry on.
Darling, will you now believe what I've been trying to impress upon you?
You are sorcerers or witches of some kind?
No, that's what you all assume here. Jeez, I thought we were in the 10s, but not the 1610s.
He says, "You have told me that there is something amiss, and that day is not day and night is not night, and something I do not entirely understand, and that has nothing to do with my clock self-destructing."
It didn't self-destruct.
I shot it.
While
sir, it seems-
you were not here. Hence, your
Now,
ice
why do you
pack
think
under
your
your
ice
buttocks.
And sorry, Claudette, finish what you just said.
Oh no, we were saying the same thing.
Nice. And Siri, you were going to follow up?
We're all trying to say the same thing.
Nice. To which he says to the group of you, looking about, you see that I'm not going to say calm. Resigned is probably a better word for it. It says, I don't know if I have any other decision than to believe you at this point, even if I don't understand half of what you are saying. But this doesn't answer what is there to do about it.
Well, I'm gonna try to talk to this pile of cloth and ask him to leave.
And if that doesn't work, I'm gonna shoot it again.
But this time
Wonderful.
I think we take it outside.
Smashing idea. Could not
Maybe
agree
it'll
more.
impress something else.
That's a good idea. Let's take it outside.
You're going to make your way out into the hall?
I have a question for Justine, which is what material is this sweater made out of?
It's a sweatshirt from 2005, so probably a cotton poly blend.
All right. I'm trying to think of something that is more finely woven, because if this is a light creature, I don't want the light to go out of like my shirt currently is pretty loosely woven and light could probably peek out of there. Do I
Think like
see
a
any
good skater hoodie. That's the material. Like it's a sweatshirt. It is not a blouse. That's
Okay. Yeah, okay, it should be fine then. As we're walking, I just want to keep an eye out for like metal boxes.
Oh, totally. Now, I should note, as soon as you go out into the hallway again, the little drip drip of light is still bleeding out from the sweater. It hits the ground and leaves these brilliant little iridescent markings on the ground following your trail.
that is so fascinating and beautiful.
Also incredibly messy. Is there a mop?
And as you go not terribly much farther, you do actually see one leaning outside of one of the rooms that you passed when you first entered the upper hallway areas.
Great. So,
Now, pardon the screaming.
hands still gloved. Claudette is going to attempt to mop up the light, if that makes sense.
Yeah, certainly. Now, it does not behave like a fluid. In fact, when you run the mop over it, it behaves like it wasn't there. Your mop obscures it, and then it's still in the exact same spot where it dropped.
Okay. Uh,
I want to dip one of my
if
coins in it.
if I can obscure it, can I cover it with things? Like if I were to go back into Earden's room and just grab like a sheaf of paper off of his desk, can I cover it with paper?
Yeah, you can grab a piece of paper and cover it up, and that seems to work just fine. Not before Justine dips a coin in it, naturally, though. Of note, dipping the coin, since it's not a fluid, it doesn't cling to the coin, but catching a drip as it falls, that does the trick.
Ah.
By this point,
So I'm just gonna
I'm gonna chase after the drips.
yeah.
I'm just gonna cover all of them as we're walking by. That way it doesn't have places to jump to if it gets out of the mirror.
Indeed. Now, at this point, you guys are about to enter the door to the factory floor, which is, again, lit at the moment. Is there anything you want to do before doing so, or are you okay with pushing through to that with your wrapped-up thing? You were looking for metal boxes, and you haven't seen any, but on the factory floor, you know there will be plenty.
Are like with lids?
Presumably, you do, like, not perfectly to mind can you remember, but that seems like something that you'd be able to find.
Do one of you want to go and grab a box and then bring it back, or should we just like go for it?
Oh, I was just gonna shut everything off. We can walk out here in the dark.
That's a much better way.
Would Claudette like to go first and do so then?
Yeah, I'm just gonna. I mean, are they still working?
Yep, they're still working, just as they were when you left them.
Great. Then I am going to. I'm going to enlist Justine so we can call them all down away from the machinery. So when I shut everything off, no one accidentally falls in.
Indeed. The other point to that as well is that this being the factory floor, they're not just going to put a light switch outside of every single door.
Yeah, I know.
In that case, leaving Siri behind in the hallway, Claudette and Justine can move out onto the brilliantly lit factory floor. You're not being waited for by anyone, but you can see the 6 men are now busily at work down below, including the 2 that Claudette kindly freed from the lunchroom. What would the 2 of you like to do?
So if the plan is to get the workers away from the machinery,
Mhm.
Justine is going to do her Zagarit.
Just for
And
those
for
viewing, would you mind
anyone,
explaining?
yes, for those who are not familiar, if you have ever watched Xena the Warrior Princess, or you watch really anything that has any Arabic influences, you hear them going la la, and it cuts out because noise suppression. But that really high pitched noise that they make really fast, that's the noise that she'll be making. And you can get really loud with that, even if you're not a loud person. It's just a cool way that our voices and tongues work.
Absolutely. What is Justine's vitality stat?
That is, I believe, that is a +1.
Excellent. In that case, as she makes the call, she manages to get the eyes of 4 of the 6 workers. There are 2 on the far side of the room who, by a combination of them, their proximity and the noise, do not get caught by this. But the remaining 4 look up with a combination of mild concern, mild interest, and in the case of one of them, complete fucking bemusement because he doesn't know what's going on.
It's just a loud noise some pretty lady's making.
Indeed. What would Justine like to do from here?
Start
Um,
grabbing them and getting them to move with me. And
Well, that will require a little bit more detailing. But before we get to that, Claudette, you had a thing?
yeah, seeing as though the other 2 weren't, she doesn't want to shoot at them because that's just going to make them run in the opposite direction.
Indeed.
But it's just like, how am I going to get these other 2 over here and away from their machinery? They're like on the far side of the factory.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's just gonna walk over to them. Cannot. Hey, can she ply them with cookies? Are there cookies in Justine's pockets?
You'd have to ask
Yes.
Justine about that.
Does
Yes,
Justine say,
there-
does anybody say that out loud?
Huh?
I don't
Yes.
know if she would. Oh, if she would
I
say
absolutely ask her. It's like, do you have cookies? Men love cookies.
Siri would be able to hear this, given that she is just past the door to the hallway.
I can get you some.
Perfect.
And
So I will go to Siri if
Mhm.
if she has cookies. And
Siri will phantasm a plate of cookies that hopefully each individual cookie can be picked up and placed back down.
Ah,
So
just
so that
enough
Claudette
tangibility, yes.
yeah, Claudette can pick one up and wave it around. Now as soon as they bite into it, it will completely disappear. So don't let them eat it until after they do what you want them to do.
gotcha. So yeah, I will go closer to where they are, and I will just sort of like wave, hold up the plate and sort of like wave the cookies so they can see me.
Now, to augment this, Justine, what did you say you wanted to be doing?
grabbing their attention. So one of the many hip skirts or hip wraps that Justine wears, think they're light, silky veil type material. This one doesn't have coins on it, so it's not going to have a whole lot of weight. She takes off one of her red ones, and as she's doing her Zagarit, she's just like waving and then motioning back with an undulation, kind of one of the belly dance moves. And like, hey, come on, follow me, follow the waving red flag.
You can see that as you do this, one of the 4 that you've caught the attention of actually like calls over his shoulder and gets the attention of a 5th, who gets the attention of the 6th. You can see that at this point, Claudette would hold up the booty, and as as she does so, you can see that the group look to each other. A few of them kind of shrug, but 1 or 2 of them don't even like need extra encouragement and are already making their way right up those stairs. You can see,
Dancing lady plus cookies. What else do we need?
indeed, yes. The one at the top says, "Minos is very kind today. Good mood, him."
Quite. He's in a great mood today.
One
So
of
are the
the-
higher ups.
The first man who you met says, "Good, I'm very glad he is well, and you are warm now. Good, very good." He says, "Thank you, thank you."
No,
And
thank you, darling.
the group of them have been quickly drawn up. Are you going to try to get them out of this room? That would, of course, bring them to the bar.
Absolutely. Outside?
Or rather,
Outside is dark?
or again, you are up the stairs because you were at the second floor coming down. So you would be, if you could either bring them all the way back down where they came in outside, or you can just bring them into the halls and have them vanish. It's or something else if you have something else to mind.
Oh, yeah, I was going to attempt to bring them down and then try to get
I see. So
everyone
you'd like
out.
meet them midway down and then bring them out. Is that roughly correct?
Yes. Yes.
In that case, as you do so, the older fellow who you first met says, "We have break, like a extra break now."
Yes, extra break.
Oh,
We
good.
we were able to chat with Minos for a little bit, and he's resting, and he decided that everyone else should get a small rest as well.
Good, good. That's very good. Excellent. I'm happy to. And as he is saying, "I'm happy to," he's stepping out of the doorway, and you can see that this time, as he steps out into the night, he doesn't vanish in the same way that they did when the lights went off inside. The night is, of course, not the pitch black that the other rooms in this building have been. Instead, you can see that it's as though his body became like rasterized. It just a streak of light passes across it, and he vanishes as he steps out the door. And the other men notice it and vanish one by one before they go out the door. One of them even trying to scramble away before he is rasterized away.
Oh, I did a bad thing. And Claudette is going to bolt back to her companions.
The door to the outside slams shut. Siri would hear this from upstairs. The light is still on in here, Claudette. What would you like to do?
Can I turn it off?
It is, okay, so if you're at the front door leading in, the stairs leading up to your companions are pretty close to you and kind of on your left.
Uh-huh.
The light area and like the electrical panel for this room is all the way across and kind of to the right.
That is not an issue. I'm gonna shoot it.
Excellent.
I'm just gonna shoot it. I am going to use trick shot, so there's gonna be a lot of flourishing, and then I am just gonna shoot the light out.
There's a smash and a crackle of electricity. Justine this would obviously be like a bit immediate for her as well. However, Siri would notice the lights going out, but before we get to Siri, both Claudette and Justine would see perched on on one of the big industrial lights that have just been shut off by your hitting the electrical panel. You can see the figure standing perched up high, gazing down with its eyeless face. Immediate actions.
Hell are
That's-
you?
And the only response it makes, well, it makes two rather. One, you can see that one of the hands, it's like pointy pencil tip hands, kind of gives a flick, and that one little pointy tip sprouts into 5 long blade-like fingers. And you can see on the darkness around it, the cigarette burn comes in. And normally, the cigarette burn, when serious in it, has been dark on a light background. But in this case, it's light. A cigarette burn made of light on a dark background. MR.GREY.
Say who? I said what?
And you can see that the hand of claw-like fingers brings down to just one, which quickly slices out a word into the air. Escaping.
No.
Escaping from what?
If oh, can Siri see any of this at this point?
At this point, if she would want to like fully push open the door, she'd be able to see this interaction.
If you escape, will you let everybody go?
The figure turns to look to Siri and responds, carving in midair with light just appearing out of nowhere, as though it were slashing open the fabric of reality to reveal light behind it to write. Yes. Very simply.
Okay, then you can hitch a ride. And she takes the mirror out again. I'll bring you outside.
It considers for a second, clearly, and you can see that its blade-like fingers retract into the one pencil tip hand. And then you can see it turns its body. And again, the whole thing is bright. It doesn't have shadows on it, so you can only infer the direction it's facing from its movement. It looks over towards Claudette. And then, with its pencil tip hand, writes in the air, "That one," and points.
You want her to give you a ride?
There's a flip. And Claudette's glasses gleam.
She had not put them back on, so they're still in her pocket.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But the pocket
Just
was
her
open.
heart hurts.
It's not like a pinned shut pocket.
Yeah, no, it's just open because they were just sort of like hanging there. Oh,
I'm sure they won't break. Or hopefully they
you are
won't.
not. She's gonna look directly at this thing as make as much eye contact as possible. You are not allowed anywhere else on my person or in my mind. Is that understood?
You can see that a small pencil tip finger, miniaturized, emerges from your pocket and writes in midair. The longest phrase you've seen. Trust for trust.
Hmm.
Is this thing blocking my path?
No, it's nestled in your pocket, in your glasses.
And we're in complete darkness again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I shot the electrical box. There's no
Yeah.
light here.
Well, I mean, I still got my infrared on. That
Mhm.
has not
That's
come
good.
off. So at least I can still see, kind of.
I will note the battery is fading on that thing.
Yeah, it's going to be time to charge soon.
Okay, well,
The silence falls across the factory floor. Any of you have actions you'd like to take?
Well, I don't know that hitchhikers will make it through the teleportation. And if they do, I believe there's protocol for
as do I.
hitchhikers. So you might be
Purpose
in
wants to escape the
quarantine.
building.
And quick as a flash, it manifests again and zips over to one of the windows.
Yeah, I think it just wants to leave the building, not go to Enclave with us. I don't
The
even think it knows
posture.
what Enclave is.
The posture that you saw just before it vanished, it was like alarmed and like tense before it jumped over.
Oh,
Maybe it does know.
From the window emerges one of its arms, which manifests its claw-like hand again.
calm down. We're just discussing. We're trying to make sure that whatever happens, no one gets killed.
It carves in midair. Truck.
There was a truck outside, wasn't there? Yeah.
Yeah, there was a truck outside.
That's where you wish to be.
It underlines the word truck.
And Justine, being a smartass, with her finger, writes a word that rhymes with truck and has one less letter and underlines it.
Mm. Tuck, indeed.
Yes, tuck,
Yeah.
indeed.
Yeah, all right.
It darts back and appears from the window again, and then dives back towards Claudette's pocket.
It just wants to go to the truck.
She feels her glasses in her pocket gleam again.
So we'll take it to the truck.
A moment with the truck before you step out, yeah?
Gotta make sure its gas tank is full.
Yes,
it has
and the
a
battery is
driver.
connected. And all
Well,
of that
I'm
good stuff.
quite sure our new friend, Mr. Gray, can manage on his own. But yeah, I will wait in the dark.
Alone.
Yeah, not.
There with Siri.
Oh, here's a thought. Siri will take out her mirror again since Mr. Gray isn't in it and use it to form a link with Claudette.
Absolutely, easily done now that she's so close, and because of that, Claudette, you can almost imagine it like a video call has appeared in front of you, like a magical screen through which you can see Siri through her mirror.
I mean,
Oh.
honestly, I'm just probably just gonna ask him some questions, like how did you get here of all places?
Oh, why?
If anything starts happening, just shout and we'll come back in.
And Siri can see the
Sounds
responses
good.
as they are written in the air. The small responses out of the pocket in its miniaturized form. Glass is all it writes.
Glass.
As Siri and Justine make their way out, the truck is nearby, and even though the night is cold, it was admittedly actually quite pleasant and warm inside of the factory, so it doesn't bite quite as bad as when you first teleported in. Do you want to proceed immediately over towards it?
Yeah.
Yep. And as you do so, you notice two things that are quite interesting. One, you can see that one of the doors to the truck is open, and you can see that there's a person inside of the truck sitting in kind of an unnatural posture. They're kind of like recoiling.
Darling, are you well?
You hear a click as a gun comes over the hood of the truck from like below the seat, like this, just pointing towards you blindly. And you hear, "Not one," not from the seated figure, but from another voice out of sight.
Are you associates of Mr. Gray?
What do you want with that thing?
I don't. I wanted
I don't
to.
know what's going on, says the guy in the seat, still recording. I don't know. She told me not to go. She told me not to drive.
Gianna Set, is that you, darling?
Her head comes up over the edge, and you can see that she has an awful cut across her cheek.
Oh. Did that
She's
creature
young.
give that to you?
She says, she still has a gun trained on you. It's a powerful looking, like single shot sort of deal. But she says,
Not Justine's first time.
yes.
That's not even on an Enclave job.
And she pulls herself out of the truck. You can see that she is bleeding horribly from the stomach, as well as from the face, as well as from a leg. Lights started going off. People stopped moving.
Yeah.
I got out the window, and I knew it kept trying to get to the truck.
Do you have any idea why?
Wants to leave. I don't know what's going on. I tried to shoot it, but it's too fast.
I believe that the last shipment or two of glass was infested with this creature, whatever it is.
She stumbles over and almost falls onto Justine, saying, please, please, I think I'm dying. I don't know what to do.
Here.
I tried.
Let me.
I tried.
Let me, darling. Darling, I've got you. And from within the skirt of many pockets comes the first aid kit with compression bandages. So we can get the slashes kind of butterflied together, put some compression on the gut wound,
The face
Maybe
is
face
ugly,
wounds.
but it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
a big deal. The leg is
No.
ugly, but it's not hitting a major artery. The stomach is bad and probably is not going to be treatable with a compression bandage.
Is it a through and through, or is
Doesn't
it?
go all the way through, but it's
Okay.
got into her intestines.
Yeah. Best thing you can do at that point until you can get him to a hospital is pack it with gauze and put a compression bandage over it.
Yeah.
So that way you don't get all kinds of nasty shit and
As you do
backward
so,
suction.
she rummages in a pocket and pulls out a bullet and sticks it in her teeth, and you can hear grinding deeply into it as you are packing her wound. She says, "Don't let it leave. I don't care if we all have to die. Think about that thing out in the world."
It already
And-
was out in the world.
I am thinking of that. Siri, darling, would you mind holding pressure? I'm gonna go look at the truck. There's got to be a reason this thing wants this truck and not just any other way to escape.
She says, tell him. And the man in the seat says, it's shipment, glass ice shipment.
Is that what's in the back?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to use my new magic item that I made. I want to see if there's anything magically hidden from me. Looking all around this truck.
Oh, a couple
Pry
things. First
open.
of all, her wounds, when you look at them through your little device, you can see the spatters of light in a similar way to how Mr. Gray bled all over her.
So she got
Second-
him at least.
It seems like it. And looking to the truck, if you want to pull open the back, it's easily done. And pull open a box of the eyes. They seem like mundane glass eyes.
I imagine that these crates are pretty heavy, yeah?
Very.
Yeah.
Now, while you're doing so, Claudette, through your connection to Siri, you would actually be at least somewhat party to much of this. But do you also have questions that you would like to ask or actions that you would like to take inside of the factory floor?
Yeah, since it's just Mr. Gray chilling in my sunglasses. So I asked him how he got here. I would also like to know, what are you escaping from?
The hand emerges and there's a bit of a carving. Climate. And then follow up climate. And then follow up light
Climate.
and dark, both.
Where you're from, is the land dying?
And then another more sophisticated sentence. It seems that Mr. Gray is at least a little more comfortable speaking now. Dying is for humans, is the response.
That's not an untrue or unfair statement. But if that's the case, why are you escaping?
There is a moment as though like a pencil tapping while someone thinks of something to say. And then greener pastures. And at this point, however, the hand starts to write something else before it suddenly stops and looks tentative, maybe, but then recoils.
Well, don't be shy now.
The figure emerges again, fully from your glasses. Mr. Gray stands next to you. It's tall and almost looms over you, but looks with its eyeless face, brilliantly gleaming straight down at you. And then touches the magical connection screen that is in front of your face and vanishes into it.
Uh,
Well, Do I
Siri,
see
close
that,
the
right?
mirror.
Yeah, did I see that? No, I
Siri-
wouldn't. Even if I saw it, I was too busy doing the compression. I don't
Indeed.
think.
And you would hear her say, Siri, close the mirror. But as you are doing so, you look and see him pulling himself out of your mirror into the night air. And as he does so, Gianaset looks up, screams bloody murder, almost like a battle cry, as she whips out her firearm.
Siri
towards him.
slaps it down.
Get him!
And
Damn it.
as Siri tries to knock the firearm out of the way, and Justine says the opposite thing. Gianaset says, "No, he needs to," and she gets her other hand to try to wrench the gun out of Siri's grip, but she is weak right now. Like, her stomach wound is bad enough.
Mm-hmm.
Go, just don't hurt anybody, okay?
She says, "He's not an anybody," as she pumps a shot into his head. You can see that white light blood spatters behind him and goes streaking out over the ground of the factory yard, almost like fireworks, like the trailing sparklers that go off of a firework. And the response is fluid as one of those blade-like fingers manifests, and it flicks it like this, and the blade goes whipping towards Gianaset.
Siri takes the shot, like moves in front of it.
And as Siri does so, Justine would see Siri's body transfixed by a blade of pure light thrown like a thrown knife. It strikes Siri just below the sternum and almost emerges from her spine.
I instantly regret that.
Siri finds herself transfixed, but feels eerily no pain. Just a strange buzzing sensation from her midriff. And Mr. Gray, however, immediately responds. It leaps to the side, again almost cat-like, trying to get a better angle towards Gianaset. Is completely ignoring Siri. Immediate actions. First, we're going to check over with Claudette. Reason being is that the mirror connection closed, not because Siri wanted to, but because she just got nailed by a blade. You don't know about the blade part, but you know that the connection closed. What do you want to do?
I'm gonna run outside.
As you bolt your way outside, you can see Siri transfixed, and you can see Mr. Gray leaping to the side. Gianaset is on the ground outside of the truck. The truck driver is inside of the truck. Justine is on Gianaset's other side.
Looking at the truck.
I'm gonna scream his name, Mr. Gray!
And Justine, you had an action?
Well, I thought I was over by the truck, and if I am, I was going to look for a flare gun.
Yeah, you can. I mean, you brought her out quite close to the truck, so you can easily.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And as you clamber into it, where would you be looking for a flare gun inside of an old-timey truck?
Under the seat.
Yep,
Because they didn't really have glove compartments.
Yeah. The driver recoils from you, clearly worried that you're going to threaten him with a gun too. However, as you're rummaging underneath, Siri, actions. You feel shockingly lucid, even if you are slightly in shock. Maybe
Rad.
more than slightly.
I don't think this will work. I would like to, as fast as possible, veneer Mr. Gray so that his body is covered in magic paint and not glowing.
What color?
Let's go blue, like a navy blue.
Now, normally you have to paint someone with the veneer, so to speak. You probably won't be able to get close enough to give them a proper little once-over. So how do you want to do so from this couple feet proximity?
My imagination is if it's normally nice painting, this is picking up a whole can and just hucking it.
Absolutely. And of note, Claudette, when you scream, Mr. Gray turns on the spot, which gives Siri the moment she needs to do this. But Claudette, you have a follow-up after Mr. Gray turns to you. You can see more blades manifesting from its hands.
I am going to use my coach gun, and I'm not going to shoot him specifically. I'm just going to shoot near them so I can get my dash action.
Absolutely. As you fire, I'm assuming you're zooming towards him. What do you want to do?
I don't want to tackle him because I don't want to get stabbed. I feel like is there any way to tell that he still trusts me even a little bit?
Well, he did turn.
So I'm gonna use my. I'm still gonna run at him, but I'm gonna put my gun away and I'm gonna hands up. That way, not holding onto the guns, just moving at him quickly. Like, what are you doing? We were helping you.
And as you do so, Mr. Gray, looking towards you, quickly writes the word escaping in much more jagged and spidery handwriting than before turning away from you.
Calm down, calm down, calm down. Okay? I don't know what was going on with the bleeding lady on the floor or the scared guy in the truck. We were helping you. Calm down. Let the scared guy out of the truck. Let Siri go, and you can take the truck. You can take the truck. Just let everyone go like you said you would.
Justine, you found a flare gun.
I found a flare gun. Old-timey gas tanks are probably not reinforced.
Not necessarily, no.
The gas
Look, I love that we had the same idea.
Fire.
And what do you want to do with it?
I'm going to hold for a second. I'm going to hold off and watch the scene unfold.
Yep, you're still in the front passenger seat of the truck. Siri, you can see your veneer taking place over Mr. Gray, starting from his back and going to his front. His brilliant light is starting to be deadened by it, and he looks kind of like a stick figure, almost, just standing in the dark.
And put a little smiley face on the back of his head.
Yeah, you can do that.
Cool, thank you.
And
That's it.
Claudette, Mr. Gray continues to look at you, having turned back as you were saying this. You can see that Siri's magic is starting to move over his body. But his blades are still out. And Siri's magic, as it's covering his body, does not reach his blades. It stops right before it can touch them. The blades almost hum in the cold air.
I was inside with you. Remember? You can, if you can't trust anyone else, you can trust me. I was inside with you.
Yes,
Please.
it writes. And without looking, it flicks a hand backwards as a blade goes whipping behind it. The blade passes Siri and pierces Giannisette through the throat. Mr. Gray brings his hand back. The response comes. Thwarting.
Okay. Okay. You're right. But the others, the workers, they didn't do anything.
Give me the eyes.
They're in the truck.
Give them to me. Open the box with the eyes. The writing is spidery and fast. Mr. Gray's hands move incredibly quickly and jittery.
Justine!
And Justine, what
Just
would you like
open
to
the
do?
box.
The box has been open. Obviously, he needs new eyes.
It is also behind the truck, so he does not have a direct line to it.
Come see for yourself.
Mr. Gray starts to back away from Claudette, blades still out. Siri, what would you like to do? You can feel an uncanny pulsing sensation in your midriff.
Am I bleeding?
Looking down? Are you going to look down?
And then I'm gonna look right back up.
The answer is yes, badly.
Okay, cool. I would like to muster every ounce of strength that I have and every ounce of courage. Put my hands on my wherever's bleeding to cover them in blood, and then leap towards Mr. Gray and try to grab his hands.
And as you coat your hands, how
I'm
are you
gonna throw
going
up.
to... Where is this going to come from? Siri is not really the blood and glory type, so what is she
No, she's
thinking
not.
of? What's she channeling? What is going through her mind?
All she is thinking is, my veneer didn't work. I have to do it manually. Her magic veneer did not cover his entire body. I need to do whatever I usually do with magic with my physical body.
Sounds like a smart plan, but what about the emotional side? What is she?
Uh,
Where's she gonna be pulling this from to give her the courage to do this?
I think it's just literally like I think she's thinking about all the times where when Siri has two things she usually does when she's scared. One is if she's scared, but she knows there's somebody on the other side who's more scared, then she goes for it. If she's scared and she knows that person isn't scared, that person she freezes and screams and freaks out. She's trying to be like, okay, I can't keep doing that. I can't keep freaking out when my life is on the line. I need to actually start acting.
Excellent. She leaps. Justine, actions you would like to take.
And towards me, yeah? Well, towards the truck.
He is starting to stalk towards the truck, but as Siri leaps out and grabs his clawed hands, in the process slicing up her own, I should add, because those blades are most of his hands at the moment, her veneer travels to the top of his blades in that moment. He is just a dark little shadow puppet.
But he still has sharp knife fingers.
Well, when she touched them, they cut. You don't know what happened after that.
I'm gonna stay where I'm at.
And
And hope that Siri is not in need of someone pulling her emergency return to home tag yet.
Mr. Gray gives like a jerky flail, and Siri is knocked onto her back. You feel a sickening lurch in your midriff as the light blade, which does seem to be tangible to some degree, is pushed up and partially out of you from your impact with the ground.
Ugh.
Gross.
And Claudette notices that as Mr. Gray pushes Siri away, rather than try to finish her or anything, he starts to scrabble around towards the back of the truck. His movements are sluggish. You can see that normally he was jilting and violent and shifting like somewhere between a cat and a photon, but now he shuffles around almost like he's wearing boots that are too big.
Start crawling out, hopefully unnoticed.
Mr. Gray clambers into the back of the truck at the same time. You hear a ripping noise as he shreds open one of the crates to get into it.
And the guy in the truck, is he still alive?
Yes, the guy in the truck is standing there, petrified and breathing deeply.
I'm gonna motion for him to follow me as I'm getting out.
He hurries out and rushes over to Giannisette and just kind of touches her face. Oh, please. And Justine, what would you like to do?
How far away from me is Claudette?
Claudette is reasonably close to you, within an underhanded toss.
Still not whisper. Not close enough to whisper to anyone.
She has very good ears, so if you take just a step or two closer, you could probably do it.
Okay. I'll shuffle a little bit closer, not trying to catch his attention, and do a hopefully just below a stage whisper for wherever, hoping he can't hear me, basically. Claudette, darling, activate Siri, send her home. I'm gonna light this motherfucker up. I've got the flare gun.
Yeah, no, we literally had the same plan.
Or I can
I'm
trade
going
you. You're a much better shot than I'm sure.
That would look just so cool with you tossing me the flare gun and then you running to Siri. Just visually in my head, that would look amazing.
Gonna
Do you want to
We
agree
do
to the
that.
plan?
Yeah.
Justine tosses the flare gun over Siri. Does Justine immediately want to go to Siri and ping her out?
Yep.
And as she
My
does
girl's
so,
dying.
Claudette, what do you want to do?
Thank you. Once I see, okay, so Is this going to be an instantaneous thing where she's gone, or
You can see that as Justine touches the Enclave badge now visible on Siri's chest, her body starts to disappear before your eyes.
great? So as soon as Siri is gone, I'm just gonna look. I'm not even looking at the truck anymore. I'm just gonna look at Justine as a part of my trick shot. I'm gonna do like a full spin and
Yep.
aim for the gas tank and just let it fly.
The flare bounces and up and into the gas tank. There's a pop and then a boom and then a burst and then a roar
Boom.
as the tank goes up. There's an extra bang after that as one of the internal combustion chambers goes up as well. The cab is launched off the front of the truck and the bed goes up. A few pieces of smoldering debris go flying past, and the canvas that made up the top of the truck's back is hanging down in loose, burning ribbons. The man who is in it is just staring backwards, still touching Ganniset's face, speechless and pale. And as he does so, you feel your Enclave badges ping on your chests. Final actions.
I just give a salute to the guy and say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Why it have to happen?
I
We're
don't
not-
know.
We're not bad people, you know.
We know. We know.
She not bad neither.
I know.
Why?
We'll talk to the bosses.
Okay.
He kneels down over the body as you feel your bodies dissociate. And on that note, we will end the mission. Nicely
That was
done.
cuckoo bananas.
Thanks. I thought it was pretty cuckoo as well. Now that we are done, do you guys have any immediate thoughts or questions after this one? Chat, feel free to chime in if you have any as well. I'll give a couple assessments of my own, but if you have questions about any calls I made, about elements of the plot, or comments thereon as well, please do let them fly.
Now I realize this is not a part of our job, but Claudette wants to go knock some teeth in and be like, who did you piss off that they would send an alien creature in your shipment and mess up your entire factory? Because a lot of people are dead now.
Yeah,
And
that's
this
something that
didn't
could
need
be,
to happen.
that could be something that could happen off screen for sure. We could even pursue that plot line in future if you wanted. That could be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Any
Like,
other thoughts or
I
questions?
don't know these women, but one of them nearly died, and I have a fairly decent track record with my missions. I don't like near death with my associates, so she's really pissed.
Indeed.
I would also like Siri to stop almost dying.
Yeah. When you said I want to step in front of the attack, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I immediately was like, oh no, I should not have done that.
I think there was exactly one person on this mission who could maybe take a hit, and that was Claudette using standoff. And so I was like, oh, she could probably take a few. But Claudette ended up establishing like the most rapport with Mr. Gray, and I was like, oh, that's going to be kind of tricky because now he's probably not going to attack her. Like,
Yeah.
that was cool. Any other thoughts that you guys have from your perspective as the players?
Oh, that was just a really cuckoo bananas story. I mean, I didn't know what to expect because obviously it's not Mothman credentialing. So
I will say one of the reasons this one was so wild is your focus words were hard, like genuinely tough. So
Yeah.
I had to really stretch to figure out a way to work. But I'm pretty pleased with what ended up going. I find time puzzles very fun, even if like I don't know, they're like MSG. You do it just a little, it's awesome. And if you have too much, it becomes disgusting very quickly.
yeah. time puzzles and time loops are a thing that get my brain broken really quick.
Yeah.
I'm like, nope, I'm getting out of this. I do not like Groundhog's Day. I don't like feeling like I'm living the same 5 seconds over and over again. Please no.
Well, you held up well in this one. I tried to make this one not too metaphysical and weird. But as I'm sure you can see now, it was mostly breadcrumb style clues to try to strike at both the presence of Mr. Grey and his intent to escape.
Yeah, poor guy. He just got scooped up in the wrong shipment.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Like I did feel kind of bad for him. I was just
Yeah.
like, I don't necessarily like. I was actually all for it, just letting him leave, and then there were, terrified and dying people in the truck, and I went, oh man. Like
Imagine
holding
how-
them hostage is one thing, but like now he's attacked people.
Indeed. Imagine how different the mission would have been if you had started the mission by investigating the truck.
Yeah.
Huh.
Maybe that's what I thought you would do. Maybe, but we adapted.
Nope. I wanted to go knock on the door.
Indeed.
Oh.
To briefly touch upon what I liked that you guys did, and it was a lot. To begin, Garnet playing Claudette. That was wonderful. Excellent first time ever with Enclave. I'm very impressed. You took to it beautifully.
Thank you.
You picked it up very quickly as well. I was trying to make the mission very conducive to a gunslinger despite not being fighty till the end, and you picked up what I was going for with the shooting out the light panel. As I was thinking that, especially once you got the idea of Mr. Grey having more trouble hiding in the dark, that could be a cool way to flush him out. So nicely done with that. I thought that you had a very stabilizing presence, as well as a believable rapport with your team members as well, and great uses of trick shot too. I loved it. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree with Arik and Chet. You did really good. Like this is not this. If an outside observer would not think first time. And Kat playing Justine. Justine is a consistently very fun character, and now that I'm seeing the patterns you're falling into with her, it's going to make it so much easier for me to design missions for her. Because both times I've started a mission and you've done like nothing that I thought you would, and now I'm getting a better idea of what that looks like. I think you use the vitality stat beautifully, and I would definitely recommend pursuing it further. Especially because as this is Justine's second mission, she levels up now, so she is able to buff her stats. Details on that are in the book, as well as get an ability perk. Great use of By the Wayside, by the way. I thought that was excellent, and I would say that I was like, oh, she's going to use familiar face on this guy. You didn't need to. You
almost did. I almost did, and I was gonna do it on the person who was dying.
Indeed, yeah. And I kind of felt like there were a bunch of times you might have, but then you didn't end up needing it, and you just did like power social through. And I think more power to you for realizing that what a bunch of like bored, poor factory workers would be very interested in is a lovely young woman they can help out and fall over themselves trying to make a good evening for. Like it's a smart play. So yeah, I thought that was beautifully done. And even though, again, I thought you guys would probably find the dying woman in the truck earlier on, you ended up pursuing the mission in a very interesting, more social and like calm vector that ended up being really interesting to see play out. And lastly, Mary playing Siri. You know I love Siri. Siri's fantastic. You always play her well. Your energy work is on point as usual, and you use the mirror better than anyone who I have ever seen play this class. Like, you're consistent. So I don't know how much you all watching as well as Kat and Garnet know about energy work in Enclave. But basic premise is you make any piece of magic that you use work differently than it normally does by changing up how you are using it. And it allows any given power you have to have enormous versatility. And so I think that Mary is a textbook like power energy work user and always does brilliantly. I thought you all did brilliantly. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope everyone watching enjoyed. If anyone has further questions about the game, about this mission, about specific calls I made, or similar, in chat or from you all, please feel free to fire away. But if not, I shan't keep you longer.
I just want to know. Oh, you go first.
Go for it.
Oh, I just want to know how you used each of the focus words.
Yep. So first focus bar I got was retinol production. I cheated and said retinol with an A. Retinol production, creation of glass eyes.
Ah.
Second one, cones and rods. What do rods do? They adjust to light and darkness. Cones, his finger blades. I knew I had to do something with dark and light, and something ideally that could be used more aggressively. I don't know if you've heard the term rod from God before, but this is like a semi-sci-fi weapon that I was like, maybe I can do something with that, but I didn't end up going in that direction. But it put me in like the weapon path, like light as weapon. And then taking off a hat before establishing the hat was a bitch of a focus word, but I eventually I eventually was like, we're gonna do a time puzzle. That's what I'm gonna do, because that's kind of where it led me to. So I hope that feels a little more coherent now that you see how I worked with the words. It was a freaking tricky one.
I told you
bravo.
I would...
Oh, thank you very much. I'm sorry, what were you saying, Mary?
Oh yeah, I've been planning on trying to figure out a way to stump you, and apparently coming up with anything out of my brain worked. So
That's tough, yeah. Do you guys have any other questions for me or thoughts about the game, especially Garnet, now that this is your first time playing?
I had so much fun.
Lovely.
And I am discovering that I really truly enjoy games that are more role play focused versus dice roll focused, because it allows the players to have a bit more control in what happens with the game and not just the dice gods.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a diceless game can be kind of daunting when you first look at it, but I'm sure as you play it, you see it's very easy. It's very straightforward. Like, and you took to it beautifully, and you are always more than welcome in my play groups whenever you would like. You did beautifully.
Thank you.
yeah, Enclave remains to this day my favorite system. I've started playing some of my old college RPGs again. I keep asking if I can do stuff that isn't in the rules, and everyone keeps saying no, and it's crazy. I
Yeah, the
keep trying
game's
to
for
energy
everybody.
work 5e, and nobody wants that.
Has no one ever heard the rule of cool? If it sounds great, do it.
And that's why we call it energy work. Is it sounds great and you put in the work, you got it. And that's why you may notice that when Mary would try to do stuff, I would often ask her to give me more or ask her for more specifics. And also let her also bring in pieces as well. She was like, oh, Robby, it's not about looking, it's about focusing. And I was like, absolutely right. So then how are you going to use that focus element to get the indirect targeting that you're going for? So it's all about trying to come up with creative solutions to unusual problems. If that is all, and you all watching, I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. If you have any questions, hopefully you know where to find me. I think we're going to be signing off about now. So if you want to learn more about Enclave, you want to try out the game yourselves, links presumably somewhere accessible. I don't know the layout and interface well enough to say for certain, but I really appreciate being given the opportunity to show off the game. And I really, really appreciate you all taking the time to play with me. I'm very glad that you have had fun, and I can't wait to do this in future.
This has been fantastic. Thank you, Robby, Garnet, and Mary for joining us on the Dice Dragons Guild tonight. Every pardon me, every other Monday, we will be hosting the Enclave right here on the Dice Dragons Guild Twitch. And the alternating Mondays will be the Midnight World. Some of our older fans are familiar with that game, and you'll be familiar with this face. 'Cause that's right, me and Papa are going to come back. If you have any interest in all of our other awesomeness, feel free to just come in and join our Discord. You can find us at the Dice Dragons Guild pretty much everywhere. Our YouTube is awesome. Our TikToks are like the best. So don't miss out on all the fun that we're having over on those streaming and fun platforms, because social media and all that stuff. Okay, bye. And we're going to be rating some people.
Lovely. As always, my name has been Robby Howell, and ciao for now, everyone.